Now there ain't nothing to it, go ahead and bring Goliath on. Ain't no giant, I ain't gon' fire on. Catch a fade, you, I'm wrong, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am icon, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm a reconcile bonds, so ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Keeping it true to form, turn the L's into a milli though. But they already knew that those farewell to your opinions, know that he is something. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that, yo. Here we go.
I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I don't think you understand. Watch me escape.
All season long, we've been captivated by epic battles of wits, alliances forged and broken, strategies meticulously planned and daringly executed. Now, as the Virtual Diplomacy League regular season marches towards its December climax, we've got just 6 games, 6 fewer chances for competitors to earn their way to the Virtual Diplomacy League top 7. Much like the pressure building in a narrowing chamber as described by Boyle's Law, the stakes intensify as the opportunities to advance diminish. With each passing game, the pressure mounts and every move becomes more critical. That's right, folks. Tonight, you'll not just be entertained, you'll be educated. Welcome to League Night. Joining me tonight, I'm your host, Brian Pravel, and I've got, coming off a marathon Euro takeover, Michalis Kamaridis. Thank you for your excellent coverage of Weasel Moot, while many of the North American hobby was either organizing or competing. So appreciate that.
Always a pleasure.
We also are welcoming someone who's gracing us with his presence, the commissioner of the Virtual Diplomacy League, Zachary Moore. Zachary, welcome.
Thank you, Brian.
And making his League Night debut, I'd like to welcome to the stream Isaac Chooks. Isaac, welcome. First of all, I want to thank each of you for being on the broadcast tonight. This is a fantastic crew. I'm really excited about getting to cover these games with you. And then I'd also like to thank everybody who's joining us in watching the video, and especially those who are joining us in Dip Chat. Dip Chat's one of my favorite parts of this broadcast. It gives you lots of opportunities to engage, tell us where we're wrong, give us insights, and your comments can be featured as part of the broadcast. So thank you all. And let's go ahead and get started. We've got 6 games we're covering tonight for the Virtual Diplomacy League. And why don't we start, before we do that, with you, Isaac. Isaac has been behind the scenes this year. You'll probably have noticed a improvement in the DBN schedule page. That's because Isaac has been behind the scenes helping update and keep that, keeping feelers out for all the different events, keeping that page updated. So Isaac, you could tell us, what are some of the upcoming events we should be keeping an eye out for?
Well, to begin with, the question is, what are you doing tomorrow? And the answer should be playing in the French Virtual Open that's going on tomorrow with 2 rounds at various times. Unless you're Australian, then it's over 2 days because Australia. And then after that, everyone's got something in November. The first weekend of November is very popular with Carnage and the Canberra Open and the Dutch Diplomacy Championship. So no matter where in the world you are, you got an event to go to. So I don't want to hear any excuses. And then through the rest of November, we got a little bit more North America centric, where we've got 2 gaming conventions that are going to feature diplomacy, which is KublaCon in California in Santa Clara, and EGGCon in Dallas, Texas. And then at the end of the month, we come back to Europe for the French National Diplomacy Championship on the 22nd. And those other events, the gaming conventions, were the 8th to the 11th and the 13th to the 17th.
Thank you, Isaac. And as always, you can check out our webpage at diplobn.com/schedule to get a list of the upcoming events. If there's an event that you would like to see featured on that page, definitely add something into the comments, reach out to us on the VWDC Discord channel, or send us an email at info@diplobn.com. Zachary Moore, you are the commissioner of the Virtual Diplomacy League. Thank you to you and your Minnesota Diplomacy Club, along with London, kind of helped kickstart this whole virtual style of play. So could you tell us about some of the upcoming leagues that we could look forward to?
I'd love to, Brian. We have the Nexus Press League kicking off a new wave on October 20th, as they will every 2 weeks for presumably the rest of time. The one following that will be November 3rd for the Nexus Press League, still pushing through their 2024 season. And that same day on October 20th, which for those of you keeping track at home is tomorrow, unless you're Isaac or McCullough, in which it's today. 7-year war round. The 7-year war league will have a round, and the CMFV, the Virtual French League, will be having a round. So diplomacy all over Europe tomorrow and all over the world tomorrow with the Nexus Press League. And then we'll be back here for League Night on November 9th with the Virtual Diplomacy League.
We'll hope to see you there. Let's take a look now at our standings for the Virtual Diplomacy League. First place, Justin Lohr, pretty commanding lead, followed by Matthew Tatanchi, Ben Kelman, Doug Malott, Jamal Blacarley, Brandon Dix, Christian Brown, and Jordan Connors. McCallus, what can you tell us about the storylines of the season so far?
Well, Brian, after the relatively early solo of Justin Lohr earlier on in the season, Matthew Tatanchi got one of his own, and the two of them look pretty set to make the top board. Behind them, with two fewer places available for everybody else, it's turning into quite the scrap. Last month, we saw 4 games with 4 good board tops, and those players are now Doug Malott up there in 4th, Christian Brown moving up into 7th, Jordan Connors up to 8th, and whoever that amateur in 9th is, but he won't do anything else. You can see the gap at the moment is 1 point between 6th and 8th, with Christian Brown somehow finding a way to be in between those two. Everybody is clutching to get their way into that top 7, and we've still got 3 months of games to go.
Yeah, 3 months of games to go, and just half a point separating 8, 7, and 6. Every point in this league really, really does matter. I know we say that all the time. This is evidence. Once again, that could be one center in one game. It could be playing one more game to bump your average up. It could also be not, if you've reached that magic number of 4, because you've got some averaging going on, also making sure you're doing damage control and you don't have a bad score that tanks your average as well. Also take a look here at positions 11 through 20. We've got some players on this list that haven't hit their number. Zach, remind me, is it 3 or 4 scores that count?
It is 4. 4 games get fully vested.
So Jason Bennett, Super Wordy, both players on this list that have not reached that magic number. So all of their points for those games will count. That can make a pretty big difference. And I think every single season we've seen some people in these lower positions kind of surprise the leaders. So definitely positions 4, probably. Definitely positions 5, 6, and 7 are not safe. Doug's right on the bubble, I would guess. So I think that cut line is going to be right around that 360-ish points if history will repeat itself. And we'll keep an eye on that. 6 opportunities for 6 more games, 6 more points tonight. We're gonna get to watch. Isaac, have you had the opportunity to follow the season so far? And if so, what's been the major storyline for you?
I think the major storyline has really been the sort of the solo push, the fact we've had 2 solos and 117 in a way that, as far as I've been told, we haven't really seen since back in COVID times. We've seen these huge scores, and that's just changed the way that everyone else has been playing, because suddenly they're playing for fourth rather than first.
Yeah, it's interesting. I soloed back in 2021, I believe, and I started relatively early in the season, much like Justin did this season. And that was the only season before this we had more solos, because later on in that season, both Nicola Taye and Brandon Fogel also got solos. And I'm strongly of the opinion that once there's been one solo, basically in any tournament, but especially in leads, more solos follow. The earlier that it is, the more opportunities there are for that to happen. But you're just cutting down. Instead of there being 7 places for us all to play for, there's now realistically 5. So everyone else is just pushing that bit more. They're taking those extra risks. And you know what? We might see it again tonight. We might see a third solo.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've observed at both leagues and at tournaments. Once that ceiling, the glass ceiling has been shattered with one solo, usually does result in you seeing more at that same event, or at least increases the odds. And I'm here for it. I think it's gonna it's gonna make the end of this season all the more exciting, because instead of having 7 places to fight for, really we're talking about 5, and that just tightens that competition, increases that pressure, and it's going to make for good, entertaining games for all of us. Zach, why don't you close us out? What are you going to be watching for tonight?
I'm going to be watching for the battle between the up-and-comers and the old hands, Brian. I think it's interesting to see Justin Lohr surging to the top of the standings so early in the season, and now having to navigate as a player newer to the league scene. He runs a club in Southern California, but really just dove in head first. And now all of a sudden he's in this position where he's way ahead of the pack. Everybody's watching and chasing, and he's got to play this defensive style of play. And then on the other side of the top 7, you have Christian Brown, and in the middle, Ben Kelman, 2 players who have been around for a long, long time and haven't broken through very often, and now getting their chance to play in a big game if they can hang on to their spot for a couple more months. I'm very interested to see how they perform today, if they play. No spoilers, but I'm very interested to see their games.
I had an opportunity to play with Justin at Weasel Moot. Definitely not a accident. He definitely has the chops. He may be new, but he understands this game, is a well-rounded player, very deserving of that spot. Matthew Tatanchi, of course, last year, one of our Super 7 in the DBN Invitational, clearly knows how to play this game. Ben Kelman, like you said, veteran player. Doug Malott, impressive 80% top share out of 5 games. Also, one of our Super 7, Jamal Blook-Early, one of the players who was both the virtual diplomacy champion and the World DipCon champion in the same year. Brandon Dix, Christian Brown, Jordan Connors, Nicholas Camaridis, our very own, and Micah Blom. There are no bad players in this top 10. We've got around 80 players this season so far. So to qualify for the top 10, these players have had to fight their way in, and will continue doing so tonight. Let's transition to our first game. All right, and Zach, I'm going to give you a break, and McCallus, I will have you as the lead analyst for this game, if you will introduce our players.
All right. So in Austria, we have Alan Thompson. In England, we have Christopher Ward playing, I think, his first game of the season. Last year, he was on the top board. France, we have Fan I Am, also looks like they're new. Germany, we have Jamal Blakali, very new, probably a rookie. Italy, we have Cody Green, known for how many games he likes to play. We'll see whether he plays all three in a single day again today. Russia, we have Matt Lynch from Dublin, Ireland. Someone who played a lot during the pandemic, but who I've not seen a lot of lately. Great to see him back. And Turkey, we have Zoe. We don't have a location for her at the moment, but I'm pretty sure she's Australian.
It's fantastic lineup. Christopher Ward, I'll give a shout out to, Super 7 player. Does not have a current place in the Virtual Diplomacy League this season, but definitely a player to keep your eye on. Has the chops, and yeah, great to see Matt Lynch back again. Welcome, Matt. Hope you're able to watch this broadcast, and let's see how that return is, if there's any rust to shake off. McCallus, why don't you take us away to our first game of the evening, Virtual Diplomacy League, Game 200, Spring 1901. Take it away.
All right. So in the West, Jamal Blakali is doing Jamal Blakali things. Straight into it with this opening to Helgoland, which I've heard him talk about at length, that he believes is an incredible new opening for Germany that is very underrated. We're going to see whether this game makes a persuasive case for that, or whether old-fashioned is better. But elsewhere, we see England moving the army down to Wales, which is interesting. It's a clear signal that I'm not going to convoy, and also maybe a little bit of a wariness of what France will do. Other than that, we see pretty standard openings, I think, for most of the East. Turkey, Zoe, with this more old-fashioned Turkish opening with both armies slipping up to Bulgaria and the fleet not coming out. We'll see whether that's punished by the fast-moving Italian meta where they loan Trieste. And indeed it is. That was where my eyes are drawn, and that's what I immediately see. Cody Green takes Trieste, goes to a GNC, and this looks like a pretty fast AI. More bad news for Zoe, likely the fact Russia's put the fleet into Romania. That suggests that they're very pro-Austrian, and this could be an AIR. But she's got a saving grace. She's got France turning down the opportunity to build free, despite being given Belgium. So not something you see too often. France has gone straight into the Med in 01. And I really like this, not just the fact that they've done that and not put themselves up to free builds and been a really scary France, but they've done it in a way where they take the Portugal with the army in 01. And that's really important. You don't want that army stuck over in Portugal in 02. It means it can move back in the right direction next year. So good job, fan. I'm a fan of you at the moment. Other than that, the West is looking relatively standard, but we do have a fleet in the Helgoland.
This is looking like it could be the beginnings of a Western triple.
Definitely could, although the English are a little bit out of sorts on that. Usually you'd think there'd be an army in Norway, and there's not, and that was all set up by them opening to Wales in the first place.
In my experience, when I see this play from France, where you get that army into Portugal, that is something, if I'm England, I'm always keeping an eye out for, a little bit wary. Not too difficult to pop down a fleet in Brest, swing that fleet from West Med back into Mid-Atlantic, and set up a convoy over into Clyde or Liverpool, something like that.
Well, I think it's harder here because usually you go Mao up to Irish and you go Brest out to Mao. So West makes it trickier.
Definitely not the easy way to do it, but it's still a possibility. So we'll be watching for that. The combination of having that fleet in Helgoland is definitely making that a little more attractive to me if I'm sitting in France's chair. But we'll see. Isaac, what are you putting down if you are France in this position?
I think with that Med opening, you have to put down a fleet in the south, and then probably an army in the north, just to keep yourself a little in check against Germany. I think 2 fleets leaves you a little too open.
McCallus?
Yeah, I agree. I think Fleet Marseille, Army Paris. 2 fleets is really an invitation for Germany to walk in and take you for all you're worth. So, especially when that other army is so far away in Portugal, I don't think you can risk 2 fleets at the moment. I'm interested to see what Russia does. Western Triple looking plausible. Do they go full against it by putting another fleet down in the north? Maybe.
And a potential walk into Tunis. So we'll see. Double fleets from France. Good fleets everywhere. It seems like England, Turkey putting it down. Only one really not putting down a fleet is Russia.
Didn't get the memo.
Yeah.
That's not good news for Zoe.
Not good news. Isaac, let's focus our attention there. What do we see with Turkey and Russia?
I mean, you see sort of your standard air or AR, closer to AR because Italy's having to defend against the French, but you see sort of air moving on Turkey, and just when you're Turkey and you have 3 people moving on you, you just don't have enough units to defend. So it's interesting. It seems like the main thing she's doing is she's picking who she doesn't want to grow. And of everyone she can choose, she's choosing Russia, which makes sense because generally in the East, it lines up as AI versus RT. Not always, but that's usually how it looks. And so you tend to feel betrayed by the person who usually would work with you.
Comment from Steve Hogue. I suppose it's not that different from being in Denmark, the army, but it feels different. What is your thought on that, Isaac?
I think it feels a bit different because it is a little different just because I think it stops being different at the end of 01. But really, in that fall 01 turn, you're very threatened because England can forego Belgium and just bounce you out of Denmark. And if you get bounced out of Denmark, especially if you're in Kiel, your position is pretty bad, especially against the English. It's a sort of, it can come off as a bit of an EF invitation if you're not careful. The French continue to go all in on the anti-Italian moves. The East, no one really making any progress, just Turkey trying to hold on to what they have and air positioning. Up in Scandinavia, though, I'm trying to see who's doing what. Seems like a... Okay. So Germany's going into Sweden?
No, Germany has walked back out of Sweden to give it to England.
Okay.
It looks like this is an EG stab on France. England's gone to the Channel, Germany's gone to Belgium. It looks like maybe they were scared by how quickly France was getting. They got Tunis, they got Spain, and they've successfully convoyed to Tuscany. So maybe Mordi and Jamal have panicked slightly. It's certainly what you wouldn't necessarily expect from Germany, given that they're only holding Munich with French help in the first place against this air, who are already there. So this is ambitious from Jamal. We'll see whether it's successful.
Yeah, I would have said it was probably with agreement, except I don't think there's any world in which North to English Channel would be agreed. So maybe there was agreement, and then there was a change in plans on the part of the English. Winter of 1902. McCallus, what do you make of these adjustments?
Well, Russia very much wants their share of Turkey, so they're willing to disband Warsaw and hope that Austria doesn't stab them. Yeah, we've got an EF war, that's for sure. Germany, Army Kiel is pretty neutral. It doesn't really show their hand whether they're going to go further. Maybe Belgium was by agreement, but it's hard to believe that Germany walked out of Sweden without knowing England was going to do this. So, all right, France has decided that this attack is fairly scary. So even though I'm in Tuscany, I've got to pull back. The problem is that they're also going to lose Tunis most likely. It's potentially possible to defend via a brace, but Mordi has successfully convoyed to Picardy. Germany hasn't not, as of yet, shown any signs of furthering an attack on them, and is still being defended in Munich by the French as well, which is quite important. Elsewhere, we see a bounce in Livonia. Really nice guess by Matt Lynch to block that. That's really important for him. Minty actually keeps pretty much everything in the East for now. So that may have been arranged. That's the sort of thing Jamal might arrange, but it's also... actually, that's the sort of thing Jamal would arrange, and I'd be looking very worriedly at Norway and Sweden if I was Wardy right now. But we'll find out on that in full. Yeah, if Matt guessed that, great guess. If he didn't guess that, and this is a diplomatic play to take Scandinavia out, great diplomatic play. So good job either way. Zoe, sorry, this happens to the best of us. Happens a bit less often these days since the air isn't as common as it used to be, but we've all played Turkey and we've all been in this situation, and it sucks. Hopefully you're back for a better game in a different country soon. Yeah.
Shout out to Cody Green. Like, if you're sitting at France, who's convoyed into Tuscany and taken Tunis in 1902, now looking like they've got a chance to take back Tunis, probably picking up Smyrna as well. Really, really good readjustment. Way to not let the emotion of the game take you down.
Yeah. And good news for Cody is it has got Tunis. France didn't try the brace defense, which would actually have worked. Tunis to Tyrrhenian Sea, spotted by Lyon, could have braced it and held on to it for now. But they may have given Tunis up by agreement, given that they pulled it off the board. So this may be some play to hope that Italy won't follow up and attack further. Piedmont doesn't suggest that's Italy's plan, but who knows? I was right to be worried about Sweden. Jamal has taken Sweden, but it's not a combined attack with Russia. So Russia has actually walked out of St. Petersburg and England's got into it. So Wardy's Baton's somewhat saved by that. Painful for Matt, but not the end of the world. Wardy's going to be under attack from elsewhere. Matt's not going to disband because he got Ankara. So this is very much a survivable. 'Tis but a flesh wound for him at the moment.
And also, Norway's very importantly a fleet.
Yes. Yeah. Doesn't have to worry about Moscow.
Good call out. Winter of 1903. We've just got 3 adjustments, all of the Central Powers. Putting down Army Belgium, Army Vienna, and Fleet Naples. Isaac, what is this telling you about our strategic situation on the board right now?
I think it's Jamal's trying to get flexibility. He wants to be able to actually move his units around Germany and France. The army in Vienna is interesting. It kind of feels like that's the decision I'm going to be watching, because now with nowhere else to go, Austria basically has to make a decision on whether they want to go after the Italians or the Russians, because they can't just sit there forever. So I'll be keeping an eye on Vienna to see where that goes.
Who would you go for if you're Austria?
I think Russia just looks a lot more open at the moment, but that might just be the way the provinces are placed. I think Russia, because you've also got the start of an EG, and so you want to try and grab those dots before EG can get to them.
McCallus, how about you?
I might take the counterpoint, and usually people have seen my games. I'm more likely to stab Russia than Italy here in these situations, but in this situation, you're not worried about France getting big. In fact, France is under attack, possibly by an EG, possibly it's an FG, and England's just allyless. But either way, I think this could be the opportunity to take Italy down. You and Russia can work together in Smyrna. And the thing is, you can give Russia builds and not really be scared, because Russia has problems, big problems on other fronts that they've got to go and sit back and reverse. So you can be the senior partner in that relationship by working with Russia here, which is a rare opportunity for Austria.
I think the takeaway there is it's good to be Austria right now, having options. And Isaac, I think this one's yours. What is the decision?
The decision seems to have been the Italians, which makes sense, especially when you can get them to do moves like this and chuck all of their units west towards the French. There is a bounce in Piedmont, unfortunately, but and then Germany walks out of Sweden to get into Livonia, but probably they can retake Sweden. This looks like it's the beginnings of an EG, possibly. Jamal seems to have gone from a position of being completely under threat to being the person in the West with the most maneuverability of everyone.
He has. He's had to do a lot of weird convoys this game. And a lot of that is down to the fact he's got a fleet beached in Prussia that he really wants to be an army, and it's not that easy to swap that around. Maybe he'll even do a convoy swap at some point to literally swap them around. Looks like the Western Triple attempted to get back together, but Wardy tried to convoy to London and failed. So whether that was a misorder or a misorder, yeah, keep your eye on that.
We'll have to see. Seems like it was a misorder based on these moves. Not a good turn to be Jamal. Belgium, Holland, and Munich all gone, and Sweden not retaken.
Yeah, that was the misorder, probably arranged with France, because France doesn't cover Paris and then puts Austria into Munich. So it seems like Wardy and Fan I Am were very much on the same page. Now, I've loved this dynamism from Fan I Am throughout. I've not seen them play before, but first they made this great aggressive attack on Italy. They got stabbed in the west. They've stabilized that situation. Now they've turned it around and got diplomatic advantage once again. Everybody who's attacked them has either pulled out or been attacked themselves.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see in the East whether Con's been arranged or not.
I would suspect it is. The fact Armenia's gone up to Sev, that definitely reads as arranged. And if you're AR, you actually want that Russian fleet to come into the Med as well. So having Russia and Con and able to come into the Med is a good thing. What I will say is Alan missed a real opportunity to walk into Venice and Trieste there. What a turn that could have been for Austria. +3, put all of them down. Yeah.
Jamal Bukhari doing his October Halloween costume of Brian Pravel, going down -4 with this turn. Rough turn. Christopher Ward putting the knife in, perhaps too soon. We'll find out. Definitely enjoying the dynamism of this game. Isaac, get the first chance to play Who Do You Like? Get to pick one power to come your replacement. You want to win the game. Who do you pick and why?
I think in this position, I think I have to go with Austria. They're still making a successful attack on Italy. France is viable again, so you don't need to worry about the Italians being able to move against you. And you have, because you still have the senior relationship with the Russians, that's difficult to manage, but you're in a strong position because all you have to do is maintain a position as the stronger alliance partner rather than getting it. And getting it is usually the hard part.
Oh, same question.
Yeah, I mean, the case for Austria is very, very strong. They've played really, really well so far. Beyond that, Wardy's got a really nice position, but I'm going to go and stick with Fan I Am. They've really impressed me with their play so far, and they've made some great opportunities for themselves. This is a very chaotic board where that person who can create the opportunities may well be the one who wins as a result. It's dynamic enough that position perhaps less important than negotiation at this stage. So I'm going to go with France.
I'll take a quick look at those adjustments, and then we'll move into Spring of 05.
All right, so France, having stabbed Germany to put Austria into Munich last turn, now turns around and puts Germany back into Munich to punish the Austrian. Fair enough. Meanwhile, Italy is throwing everything at Austria, which means France, as I suspect, is in a lovely position to take Tunis back. So good job. Love to see it, Fan I Am. The East, they're doing the thing I said where you bring the Russian fleet out to help in the Med. That's important for an AR that doesn't have Italy, and you don't see a lot of them these days. So it's good to see that both players recognize that's something they needed, and they've done that successfully. Russia, meanwhile, has probably cut a deal with the English because rather than go up for St. Petersburg, they're charging everything into Jamal, and never an error to kill Jamal. So fair play, Matt.
Isaac, how do you feel about that? Let's ignore Jamal. Let's just read the board state itself. If you're offered that deal as Russia, do you take it?
I mean, I think so, because basically the deal is take a dot and also let me keep this one unit that can't threaten you.
Yeah.
So I think I take that deal.
Well, it seems Denmark was threatening enough that England now puts Jamal back into Denmark. So this is a term where people just support Jamal into centres they've just kicked him out of. Whether that speaks to Jamal's persuasiveness or everyone else's indecision, I'm not sure. But fair enough. That's twice in 1 year we get to see that. Russia, though, does get into Berlin. So the loss of Sweden isn't that punishing. Austria has walked out of cons, so they don't need to fear a stab on that front at the moment. Although this is a tactical error from AR, given that they've dislodged Ionian Sea but forgotten that it can retreat to Eastern Med. Maybe they're hoping it comes straight off the board because France has just taken Rome and Tunis. So we'll see.
Find out who Cody is more upset at with this set of adjustments for sure. To be a fly on the wall in these negotiations. This turn is one of those. Let's get out the popcorn because
there's so little trust in the West. Like they're all stabbing Jamal and they're working with him again. And we saw Wardy there just tapped Brest just to make sure France can't build in it.
Yeah. All right, winner of 1905. This is also the kind of game that could go on and on and on, or could draw early. People could be just like, I can't figure this out. I'm done. I'm going to be watching to see if we start seeing signs of somebody going to make a move, try and win this thing, keep the game going, or are they going to just start jockeying for draw position? Oh. Oh. Okay.
I told it, Brian.
I expected at least another year.
Wow.
Okay.
Congrats, Wardy. Well done.
Wow. All right, well, Christopher Ward, 8 center top as England, coming in, I think, Virtual Diplomacy League season debut, 80 points at the board top. Isaac, is this the right end for this game?
I think I think it's I think possibly the classic diplomat's answer of possibly. I think it's really, I don't really see much growth without stabbing. Maybe Venice for Austria. That's it. So in this position, I think it does make sense to draw if nobody's planning to stab, because I think there's not really much progress to be made.
I think Austria and Russia have a huge problem with that unit behind the lines that's going to be horrendous to dig out. And I think that that's why they've drawn. If that Italian fleet isn't there at Eastern Med, there's no way I accept this draw as either Austria or Russia. The fact that Italian fleet is there and is going to screw around and type your units and also probably intertangle the pair of you, that would be a real problem for me and might be why they've drawn. I wouldn't have taken this draw as France, though. I think with Italy as angry at Austria as they appear to have been in the past year, France, Naples, Venice, maybe some more. That was potentially there for the taking for France.
I completely agree that the key unit enforcing this draw is the fleet in East Med. Well done, Cody Green, enforcing a survival. You make a different choice with those disbands, and we're probably looking at a different game. So congratulations, Christopher Ward. Welcome back to the Virtual Diplomacy League, and shout out to all of these players for a very, very entertaining game. So much fun. I think we should do it again. Let's go ahead and give McCallus a break. And welcome to the broadcast, Zachary Moore. Welcome.
Thank you, Brian. Hope we get to watch 5 more Western triples tonight.
Well, if they're Western triples that are that entertaining as that game, I will take it. And let's bring up our next game. All right, Isaac, your first time as lead analyst. Why don't you introduce our players?
So we've got Stephen Hogue out of Kentucky. I don't know states, so you guys are going to have to help me.
Yeah, I will laugh because this is the equivalent of me speaking European names, so it's completely okay.
But it is
Craig
Kentucky,
Meyer,
1-for-1.
Craig Meyer out of... I have no idea where MT is.
You can just
Absolutely
introduce
none.
the players, it's fine.
Then we got some random person in McCallus Camarides. Who's that? No idea. Then we've got mysteries. We've got Ket, Superworty, and Stayfawn. And then Jaden in Turkey. All international people of mystery, because we do not know where they are.
Super wordy is Leonardo, who has signed up for a few VDLs in the past, and I don't know if he's
in 13th
made...
place in this year's season standings.
Oh yeah. So I don't know. We I don't know why the commissioner didn't get more information to Brandon so he could fill this out right. We'll have to.
Sounds like the commissioner should be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a new vote in order. So. All right. Well, with that group of players, let's get to our game. Spring 1901. Go ahead and take us away.
Wow, what a spring of 1901.
Fairly standardized moves in the West. The only one that really jumps out to me is Marseille Hold. You see it every so often, but it's definitely more uncommon and looks like slow play from France. And then big move on the board, Moscow to St. Petersburg, the northern opening from Russia. And also we're seeing a comeback of the old classical Turkey opening, because we've got it again here. We've got Smyrna following up to Khan.
Love to see it.
And they decide. We were talking about a Western triple last game. Could be having the same situation this game, although I don't know if I'm agreeing if I'm the Germans. You see again Romania with the fleet, just so we can repeat last game again. But you see the army going into Norway, and it looks like France and Germany are a little friendlier here than previously. I think Russia opening north really incentivizes a potential FG, because you're already putting England on the back foot, and you're forcing them to put that army up in Norway, even if they wanted to put it somewhere like Belgium or Holland.
We could see it again. I like the Vienna to Trieste. Protect that. I like it even better in Spring 01 because then you slide it down to Albania, but we'll take it in Fall 01 as well. Just want to note that one.
No loan this game for sure. +3 for Germany, +2 for France, +1 for England, +2 for Russia. Everybody else getting their typical builds. And Spring 1901, Zach, what are we looking at?
The first builds tell you this is not a Western triple. If it's a triple, you see 2 or 3 armies from Germany. the two fleets tells you that, as you said, they're taking the opportunity here with Russia moving north to go and do kind of a delayed sea line here, and France's build in Brest of a fleet, and frankly, the English London build says that as well. So it's going to be a war in the north. I like the army down south from Turkey. This is a huge offer to Italy, who now holds all the cards in the east, about which way this game's going to swing. Adriatic or Aegean is going to
Yeah,
decide
this is a
how the East shapes up.
this is a deal I've done once or twice as FG, which is where I've offered Belgium in return for a double fleet build out of the Germans. It'll be interesting to see if that's what the situation is here as well.
I love it. Isn't the conventional wisdom that a Western triple is bad for Germany? In this case, maybe this is one way to kind of turn that fortune around a little bit, add a little bit of risk for the English. I like that. I like it a lot. Moving into Spring of 02.
Spring of 02, it is all FG in the West. We're in the English Channel, MAO, supported into hell. The second fleet is sliding through. They're keeping Burgundy clear. This is all FG in the north, with a little bit of Russia getting involved as well. And Italy moves into the Aegean, and that's going to determine the direction of this game. It will be AIR against T yet again. Turkey builds the army to try to bait Italy into friendship. Italy doesn't take the bait. I don't know if Trieste was offered. No, it wasn't, because of the symbolic order from Tunis. So it's just going to be an AIR in the east, and the way this FG is looking, I don't know which side of the board is going to resolve quicker. Into the fall, France slides into Irish, but North Sea holds. Russia, who is a part of two triple alliances, I might add, will take Norway. Italy is going to convoy into Bulgaria. You have to get paid after turning down the offer that Turkey made. About 1 billion supports into Bulgaria. And again, Burgundy remains clear. This alliance between F and G is going to live or die by how long they can keep that clear, how long before somebody comes up with a convenient excuse why they need to be in Ruhr or Burgundy.
Winter of 1902. We've got first of all, just I love to see this convoy from Italy. This is I will be honest. When I saw this last turn, I was like, I think I might have taken the Kraken here, gone with the IT. But when this offer is on the table, I totally get it. Love to see the aggressive movement of that army forward. That does it's going to make for an interesting position. Isaac, what do you do with that army? Like, are you pulling it into Turkey? Is that it becomes like the leading unit in the attack into Turkey?
I think it sort of has to, because Bulgaria is just a little. If you're in an air, then Bulgaria is just a little too unstable as a province to hold. Like, it does not take much for AR to be able to take that off of you. So I think you'd rather have that in Con or Smyrna and pull it down. You want more provinces adjacent to the sea, basically. That's your best friend, is Italy.
All right, winner of 02. What are we looking at, Seth? Or I'm sorry, Isaac.
Naples losing London is interesting. It sort of seems like the play here is going less. There are two sort of main reactions to a stab that I've identified if you're going to, when you have disbands, which is try and defend fully or try and destabilize the alliance by giving one person everything. And it seems like England in this position has decided that they're going to try and give France everything. And it seems as though England is going full Janissary mode here, trying to make their way up into Scandinavia and run away to the line. Burgundy once again staying clear. Munich not joining in on the bounce. And then just there's a lot of hesitation on this board. There's a lot of bounces rather than people making units, either because they don't know where they want to go or because they're not quite sure if they trust one another yet.
If you're Russia, big missed opportunity here, by the way, to let that fleet from black into Armenia, follow it into black and Romania. I feel like, I don't know, if you think there's even a 50% chance black goes to arm, I'd hold Sev or support Ukraine into Rum and just slide behind it.
Yeah. 403. Russia is rewarded for their England is rewarded for their support and being nice to FG with getting kicked out of Norway. And losing Edinburgh and London. So England is dead for their janissarying. And then we do see Burgundy now being occupied, but also a movement down to Rouen. So I don't know if that's arranged or if that's destabilizing in the FG. And see Italy staying in Bulgaria, but also starting to pick up some of those southern Turkish dots, while A and R are just sort of still sitting on the sidelines, not really getting anything yet.
Fascinated to see what happens with Burgundy and Ruhr here. You can see easily the case for France into Burgundy. Pick is convoying up north. You want to be able to cover it. But for Germany, if you planned these moves, why defensively do you need to be in Ruhr here? Why can't that be a bounce? And this is what I think is where we start to see now there's somebody has an excuse to be in one of those spaces. I'm curious to see how France builds here if there's a little defensiveness based on that.
There was also just a comment raised about there was a tap on Greece, without which Austria would have got into Bulgaria in the fall. Yeah.
A little bit of stress building in two of our alliance structures. Something to keep an eye on. Winter of 1903. Zach, what happens?
Fleet army from France is interesting. I think that's the most diplomatic way to protect your position in Burgundy. Army Paris is a little too defensive, so I like this. It still signals that, hey, we're all in here on our attack together. But offensively, you would rather have those flipped. England's done, right? You want Fleet Marseille, Army Brest, because Germany's in Ruhr. France has to sacrifice a little efficiency for a little defensiveness. Germany builds the army. That's friendly from this position to France. The only thing they were going to build, and an Italian army in Venice. You wonder, after what we learned about that tap, whether this is about to turn into a wintergreen in the south.
I would definitely be asking, why do you need that army in Venice if I were Steve Hogue in this position?
And Russia and Italy stay the course. Italy does not a lot, and Russia moves forcefully into position to take Turkish home center. So another great turn from Russia, who again is a part of two triples in this game. France heard what they needed to hear from Germany. They worked it out and cleared the center of the board yet again. This is great play from France and Germany to regain the efficiency that they sacrificed during the winter build phase. And now they have won the race to the other side of the board. Two of them versus a triple on the other side, and they still cleaned their business up quicker. Germany and Prussia, Silesia. France is about to be in the Med. It's all coming up west and kind of hinges on what Russia does here as the swing player in both these alliances.
Why does London go to Yorkshire here? Is it just like a trust maneuver?
They wouldn't convoy it, would they? That'd be fun. Oh, And that's a good question. The answer is because France is getting Edinburgh from Germany. As Germany walks into Norway, I mean they're tied on the center count. So I guess the idea here is that Germany, your position is better, so France should get a dot lead. I'm surprised to see that, but great
Well,
negotiation from McCullis Kamarides.
it also just cleans up the lines a bit.
Mm.
Like England's always a bone of contention between FG. So if you can find a way to stay even and have one person own all of it, it just makes everyone feel better.
Well, what the result of that is that Michalis Camarides can keep an army on the island if he wants for defense, then can move all those fleets in a different direction. So, I mean, diplomatically, I guess that could be a good play if you feel like you can arrange that. It's also a little bit risky though, because that's much more efficient for your ally. So if it's a race, I don't know if that's the way to win the race by letting your ally get more use out of their units.
The fleet in Marseille that we wanted to see last turn, we've had the de-escalation to allow us to see it. Another fleet down in Berlin. Thanks for playing, England. And St. Pete is the obvious choice here. You've got to try and defend everything you can in the north as Russia, and everything you can in the west as Italy. So I think these disbands make a lot of sense. France pushing down as suggested, and Germany pushing further and further away, moving everything that possibly can to the east. And Russia making their way down, deciding that actually Italy doesn't need Smyrna anymore. Which I don't know that I would have done that in the spring, because it gives them the retreat to Armenia, and now you have to cover rather than. I think there's a decent chance that you get that as a disband if you take it in the fall. And the blowing up of Livonia, just sort of a lot of statics, but basically the general gist is that FG is making progress, and the air's still trying to figure out who's who and what's what. Germany staying still, wanting to not move too far east. And Austria, this looks like it's become AI versus R.
Who? It looks like just a big F to me.
Yeah.
This is a fantastic position for France. That is no question. And I think that this one I definitely want to call it. So,
Wow.
well done, Jaden. Whether or not this game ends up with a survival for Turkey or not, love to see the scramble and the continued play. Fall 1905 as a one center Turkey coming back. Here we go. Turkey can play slow. We'll see how slow they can go.
Fields here, another fleet in the north from France because there is nowhere else to put it. You've got a fleet in Khan from the Turk, so maybe gonna push everything north into Black and Armenia. That would be delicious, and we have, a late breaking AT. Who knows? Opportunity here for McCullis if he wants to take his shot. It's probably not the time with two German builds, but the longer you can keep yourself in a position where in a single move you take the channel pick in Burgundy, that is a window that he has got to delight in having open. I think there's a little more work to do in just like overextending Germany first. But spring of 06, we'll see if there's any friction.
So we, my fault, rushed it a little bit, but we'll play Who Do You Like? Zach, who's your pick other than France? I think we could all agree that France is in the dominant position here.
Yeah. Other than France, I think I like Austria here. I think the only hope someone other than France has is that, who is Leonardo going to be mad at in Italy? Is which way do they want to throw? And when you're between two powers like this, that answer is not the same season to season, year to year, because sometimes you try to throw to somebody and then they don't do what you like and you go the other way. So I think Hogue's path here is for Leonardo Superwordy to get upset at McCullis and just wave him into the boot for a sneaky top there.
Isaac, how about you?
I think I'm going to go with Germany on account of them being allied to France, but also on account of the fact that I think there is a stabbing window for F here, but I think it's limited. And I think your issue is that you have to do it before Germany gets more growth off of Russia. So I think if you can't pick France here, then I think Germany still has a decent position both offensively and defensively if need be.
Zach, last question. How big can France get?
How big can France get? I mean, with the right jump, you could definitely see Belgium. If Italy goes east, is angry at the east, you could see Rome and Naples. So that's 3. With the right set of moves, you could crack the North Sea, and then I don't think he gets to a solo, but you could easily start to see a 14 or 15. I think realistically the highest is maybe 14. From this position, I think you'd be very happy with 12 with Belgium, Rome, and Naples. Well, pushing south still has the stab window open, and the German armies push east, which is exactly what you want to see if you're France and you're propping that window open. Germany into Livonia, Prussia, Silesia, but Austria setting up a wall. I wouldn't be shocked if this was, I was going to say I wouldn't be shocked if Gal was planned, but the slip into Sev tells me that it was not planned and that Stephen Hogue has gone rogue in the east, while Turkey, by the way, takes Ankara and will almost certainly build again because Aegean's and Ionian and everybody around him is fighting. So incredible play by Jaden from the mat to get back up to 3 and building yet again. And now you wonder whether Hogue's decision in the east opens McCullis' window even further, or does it allow Germany to keep some armies back and hedge their bets?
Germany is being careful there. They're keeping something in the center all the time, never fully backing away.
Bothnia to Baltic is big. You want to have that fleet a little bit closer. Now you have 2 fleets that are within a couple moves of north, and you can damage control if France jumps on you. Germany getting into Moscow and there's no more stab now with Moscow and Warsaw. Germany is huge. It's just going to be FG the whole way. Italy watch continues. Italy is holding the line with the east for now, and McCullis helps Russia into Naples while taking Moscow and Warsaw. So the Western Alliance playing both sides of the Eastern Bloc here.
And Russia surviving in Naples. We've got 2 very interesting builds on by Germany. Isaac, what are you putting down if you were in Pet's position?
I think you put down, I think it has to be 2 armies here. One, I don't think you can justify a fleet, and I also think you'd rather have armies than a fleet in this position, unless you're planning on attacking France, which, looking at the board state and the previous moves, you aren't. So I think you just put the armies down for the defense and to be less threatening.
That is what we see. We also get the army from Steve Hogue. So we see the armies moving towards the center of the board. Perhaps we're reaching that mid-game stage where we start to form some lines. Will someone be able to force their way across it?
I mean, getting into Galicia is certainly a good start. And Tuscany. And Ionian. So that seems like the answer is closer to yes than no. This just really is becoming a story of FG dominance, and can the hodgepodge collection of East stop them in time?
I'm going to throw this one to you, Zach. Bradley Grace, prefer being Germany here over any other country. I perhaps overstated McCallus's position, or perhaps Ket just overperformed expectations. Either way, good on them. Do you agree, or are you still team McCallus with this from this position?
That Austrian stab of Russia was huge for Ket, and now being in Galicia with no more stab available for France, you count the dots. I mean, France got to get 2 ahead. Naples, Rome. Hard to force that. Maybe you force Venice, but Germany probably has to help you. So, what's the ceiling there? 12. I wonder. I wonder if they're going to do a 12-12 and draw it here. You're right, but if I had to pick one, Germany can play this tactfully because France needs their help to grow. Germany doesn't need France's help to grow.
But they're starting to they're bringing Austria in, so we might even be seeing the beginnings of a Fogel here. Well, something Fogel adjacent, probably not quite a Fogel, but you see them getting into Venice. I mean, you're seeing France and Austria starting to work together, but Austria and Germany starting to not be such good friends. So the board is definitely in flux at the moment. And in situations like that, I like to keep a pulse on the smaller powers. Because when you've got sort of 3 very strong powers fighting for dominance, the moves of the powers like the Italians, the Turks, and the Russians are very important in this position for who's going to be your friend, because that's how you swing things in your favor.
Well, if you are Turkey, what a turn of events that you have now outlasted Italy after Italy back in the spring of '02 turned down the gesture and the offer you made them. Now with 3 centers, the Ionian Sea, an ill-advised force on Greece if they want to play that way. And we're getting to a draw state here, but a little more grinding can be done from McCallus, and I've never known him to be one to turn down a dot. So I say to keep playing.
Isaac, do you, if somebody's starting to talk draw at this point, is there any power you feel like should turn that down?
I think there's an argument. I think McCallus can probably afford to. He can probably grab Naples here. And there's even an argument for the Turks. If they want to slightly improve their score, they can have Greece. It can be retaken, but only if the Austrians want to give Germany dots. So I think you don't take a draw here as France. And if you're feeling bold as Turkey, you also don't take a draw.
Spring of '08, it will be Ionian for France playing the position, and he will take the stab into Channel, Picardy, and Burgundy, reopening the window which had once been closed. And again, the board is about to be
Transformed.
all F, all over on this board. It's going to be F'd everywhere, and count the dots here. Belgium. Now it's just how long till the time limit, because with Ionian, with a walk into the North Sea, with a force on Belgium while taking North Sea, this is a solo if the game doesn't have a time limit, and you got 3 or 4 years to do damage. So 15, 16 for McCallus. This was the perfect move at the perfect time.
This is what you call boiling the frog. Put them into the water, start turning that temperature up very slowly. No one feels it. Everything's okay. Turns it up a little more. Everything's okay. Turns up a little bit more. And suddenly, before you know it, that water's boiling. And we've got McCallus Camarides in France pouring into Germany, taking all those dots. Let's see how big he gets.
Wow, a walk into Belgium, a walk into North, following into North Atlantic. He's going to bounce Munich here to keep Germany from getting the units back. And then working with Turkey to do that stab on Austria, because a turn ago, Turkey stabbing Austria only helps Germany. Now Germany in no position to take advantage of it. So what you have is the East in shambles, while McCallus advances in the West. He would get all 34 centers if this game had no time limit. And to be honest, the way it's going, everybody on this board is going to be so mad at everybody that a solo isn't out of the question. Which two of these three are going to work together to stop him? They all hate each other. I hate them. Oh.
All right, Isaac, that's the right call, right in state.
I think it is, because the only person left with more play in this game to make significant growth is McCallus, and he's already topping. So if he wants to draw, then I don't think anybody else vetoes a draw here. It was really just a question of how far did McCallus want to go.
11 centers, 110 points. Let's mark this game. And when we get to the end of the season, let's find out if perhaps going for a couple more centers might have made a difference. How risky would that be, Zach?
What can you lose? I don't know that you could lose anything here. You have, Germany from this position has to decide if they're going to protect Ruhr or cover Holland. Either way, Holland falls eventually. There's just not enough fleets in the south to push through this Ionian wall, especially since Russia is beholden to you. So that's a friendly fleet in Naples. I don't think there's any risk from France to keep playing. Everybody else should be jumping at this draw. McCallus, not so much.
Well, let's bring McCallus back into the studio, and I'm going to go ahead and do an update on Dipcast, get another game loaded. McCallus, why don't you talk us through what were the key moments of this game? What did we miss?
I think you got most of that covered. The big moment, I think, in the game was Italy's stab, not stab, whatever it was on Austria, because up until that point, I was probably coming into the Med anyway, but it wouldn't have been with a partner in the East. And that move for Italy tapped Greece instead of giving Bulgaria to Austria, which is what had been agreed. It was an agreement between them for Austria to take Bull that Italy broke. It meant I could put down Army Marseille, which meant that Italy couldn't further the attack into Austria, so I saved Austria by doing that. Austria was pretty worried, I believe, about a wintergreen at that stage, and by putting the army down, not only did I have a partner in the east, but I had, I'd basically kept Austria alive, and then I gave tactics to Austria and to Turkey to keep Turkey alive. And for whatever reason, Russia walked out of Con one year and gave Turkey a build. And from there, I'm just like, cool, that's great for me. Russia came and was in a desperate position for survival, so I got a Janissary out of it. So I put them in Naples, and I don't kill my Janissaries, as you've just seen. Naples was there for the taking for many years, but I was determined to keep Russia alive in this game. So here's my shout out to everyone. Be my Janissary. I'm a great master.
All right, the Deviant publicity machine continues at work.
You gave me the opportunity.
I did. I think we asked for that. Well, congratulations, Michalis. That was a fun game to watch, and a definite shout out to our Turkish player. I think that was my favorite, seeing them come back from the way they scrambled. So.
It was a really fun game. Like, all of us really, really had a good time. And like, I could have pushed on and taken more dots from Ket, but Ket was quite happy with still having a decent result. And I think they were saying it's their best result in a while. I'm just like, well, we've worked together all game. I've got the top I wanted. I'm happy to take that draw.
Yeah, Ket really impressed this game. I definitely like it. I like an FG in general. And this one was a well-executed FG, so really fun to watch. All right, Isaac, we're going to give you a break, and we're going to go ahead and transition us over to the next game. Go ahead and bring that up.
2:30 a.m. for Isaac, so I think he's earned a 30-minute break before coming back at 3 a.m.
And almost got it. Here we go. Bring up our players. And Michalis, why don't you, or actually, I'm sorry, Zach, why don't you introduce our players here?
I'd love to, Brian. Darcy Morris from Canberra, Australia, who I've heard through the grapevine has played Diplomacy 5 days in a row now, including today, through the various leagues, tournaments, and virtual offerings that go on. Dash B, who gave me their name, but I don't have it in front of me, playing England. Isaac Jukes, the long-time, several-time GM of round one of the Virtual Diplomacy Leagues, playing out of York and drawing France. Justin Lohr, the leader in Germany, runs the Los Angeles Diplomacy Club. Karsten in Italy from Rockville, Maryland. Christopher Ward playing his second game of the day out of Russia. And in Turkey, it is Christian Brown, a discount Tommy Anderson, if I've ever seen one, playing out of Peoria, Illinois, in Turkey.
Yeah, Christian Brown, a very impressive season this year. I've been very impressed with the growth that I've seen, both here and at Weaselmoot. First round of Weaselmoot, he played 2 boards. I think he may have topped both boards, if I recall correctly. He did really well, if not. Definitely is. We've seen a lot of maturity and growth from him over the past few years. So this is a great group of players. I'm looking forward to watching this game.
And the real highlight, of course, is we get to see which commentator plays France best.
This is the French commentator brawl, spring 1901. Let's get it started.
Well, the French commentator opens to Burgundy, which walks in unopposed and also jumps into the channel. So 1 point for Isaac, and I'm going to say 0 for Michalis in the early going. We got a bounce in black. Smyrna retreats to Syria. Christian Brown saying no, no, no to the Lepanto, and Italy will support themselves into a Puglia. Better safe than sorry. Austria is going to slide into Albania. They'll bounce in Gal, and England opens north into York. Probably very glad that did not go to Edinburgh.
Andrew Goff approves of that play, Christian. That's the Andrew Goff opening.
And here we go, a full-on Sea Lion from FG. Another strong FG. 2 points for Isaac and 0 for Michalis in the early going. Denmark gets into north with support from Isaac's English Channel. In exchange for that, Isaac will get Belgium. They'll both build 2. And Russia, happy to walk into Sweden unopposed as part of this. Meanwhile, in the east, Italy non-committal, while Turkey tries to bounce Russia and Romania, and you got to wonder whether Serbia promised support for that move. You wouldn't think so, given that Ank didn't follow to black. That's probably just a throwaway order, and we're looking at RT versus
Yeah,
whatever AI decide they want to do.
that's a pretty common trust but verify move, as Brandon would say, where
Hmm.
you move to rum to make sure Sev has to support Ukrainian, so Sev can't go to black when you're not moving there. So Christian playing safety first there and paying off for him. Karsten didn't convoy to Tunis, and Christian has brought a fleet out to the Med, so that's quite interesting. It's a good position for Christian here.
Set of moves making me hear Linkin Park, My Chemical Romance, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Green Day, because this has the early 2000s written all over it. This actual sea lion, people call the sea lion a like any combined movement between Germany, sometimes Russia, and France against England, call a sea lion. But it was originally a named opening. We get to see that here. And then the move into Syria was in vogue at that time as well, because everyone was Lepantoing and it was an adjustment to that meta. So fun to see that play out here, taking me back to when I first got started playing serious competitive diplomacy. It's winter of 1901. Nicholas, this one's you.
All right, so France builds the builds you'd expect from a sea lion. Germany does the same. Wardy doesn't put a fleet down in the north when the opportunity was potentially there to do just that. Goes with the army instead. We'll see whether he regrets that conservatism or not. And yeah, the build you'd expect in the Med as well. England's retreat to Helgoland is really interesting and probably not what I would have done, because that fleet is kind of trapped there, and it's the island is very hard to defend from this position as England. London is very, very vulnerable. France can slide up to Irish Sea if they want. Yeah, that's the sort of position where if I'm England, I might have been tempted to pull that fleet off the board and rebuild it in Liverpool or something like that. And that is why Helgoland is not the best place to be. Although you do get North Sea back out of it as Germany chooses to prioritize killing that unit off. Safety first from Germany. Safety first, the order of the day on this board so far. France does slide up to Irish Sea and will walk into Liverpool by convoy if they want to, as London hasn't moved. So Isaac is continuing to have quite a nice position. Wardy takes Norway and does it with the fleet, which is good. It gives him more options for potentially trying to get Edinburgh himself. And Germany, they could be on the back foot in this sea line now. France is in great position to take more stuff from England. Russia's in great position to take more stuff from England. It's quite easy for this to turn into an FR from this situation. So Justin playing with fire a little bit by that move backwards. The East, very static. All right, so for the East, again, we see one move of note, which is Russia getting into Galicia, and even that isn't actually that massive yet. Italy, having got up to Tyrolia, hasn't come through with any sort of attack on Austria. They recognize that there's an RT, and that's probably not the wisest move at the moment, so fair play, Karsten. Isaac, well, you're up to 7 in 02, so you're doing pretty well so far. And Justin, doing a very nice little convoy swap there. You don't get to see this very often. Convoy is Denmark back to Kiel so that he can pull the fleet up. It looks great, but it also kind of means he's actually just gone nowhere for the year and is in fact further back than where he started it. So the danger of France missing the bus on this sea line, of Germany missing the bus on this sea line is very, very present right now. I would be even more concerned if I'm Justin.
I do definitely like the fleet in Denmark over the army, though.
Oh, for sure. I just would have preferred it in, I don't know, Edinburgh.
Yeah. Makes you wonder about that decision to prioritize popping hell in the spring. There's a lot else you could have done, and it wasn't really threatening you there. It was going to die then or die later. So we got armies in Warsaw from Russia. It's actually the only army dropped on the board because it's double fleets from France. Edinburgh is pulled off the board by England, who is hanging on by a thread. And into spring of '03, Germany deciding now perhaps that it will be, well, a what? Supporting England into Belgium. But you'd think if that's a stab of France, Kiel's going to go to Ruhr. Instead, Kiel goes to Burgundy. So some sort of arrangement being worked out by all three Western powers here for reasons unclear to me as France gets ready to pour into the Med. Over in the East, it's another triple, but a much more conventional one as Russia and Austria take Bulgaria. Turkey tries to convoy into Greece, but it is protected, and Italy slides into Piedmont, but mostly plays defensive. This move into Black Sea is going to be great for Russia's tempo. I really like their position out of that Eastern three.
Yeah, I think I read this as Belgium was actually a deliberate play just to get that English fleet out of the way. I think France, the deal will be France takes it straight back anyway. Whether Germany follows through on said deal is a different matter, but it means Germany's got to walk into Edinburgh. So it's a glorious turn for them in that regard, even if they do decide to screw France or not screw France. That fleet in Belgium is useless to England now and is completely at the mercy of their two neighbours. So that's quite a nice play. The East, yeah, Wardy's lost patience with Christian. I'm surprised, actually. I thought he was lining up to go Bohemia Galicia and stick with this RT, but he's decided to go for the stab, and he has at least predicted some sort of fight with Germany, so he's in Finland.
So both of you are better at tactics than I am, but the way I'm reading the West is Justin has a choice. He can either defend Sweden or try to defend Sweden, or he can take the build in Edinburgh. Is there any world in which you try to defend Sweden and delay taking Edinburgh for a later time, or is that just too much risk?
Well, your next fight is with Russia. If they try to take Sweden here, your next fight's with them, and England's out of your way. So it's a good question. I mean, if the end result is the same, you keep one dot, you lose the other. You maybe rather have England have the dot than Russia, and you can guarantee just by north to Norway, right? Because if Norway is the mover, you slide in behind it, and if it's a cutter, then or if it's a supporter, then it's cut. So maybe somehow, by the way, you have it both ways, where North goes to Norway, and you convince England to move to North or support English in the North and get a retreat into Edinburgh. That would really be the diplomatic coup if you can pull that off.
I would prioritize Edinburgh. I think Sweden is not Russia's got to take it with the army rather than the fleet, and so I don't think it's actually a big issue. Taking Edinburgh means you've just got more units to throw at Sweden next year. You could put another fleet down and take Baltic Sea, and yeah, I would much prefer that. I think going to Norway at this point, if you get in, you're basically giving France all of England, because you're not going to have an excuse to come back to North once you've left.
And of course, Germany chooses neither, and they'll go with option C, which is supporting the English fleet forward and following into Belgium, which again seems to be agreed upon by France. Well, Russia builds in off of Sweden, and something happened down here with. Oh, it's going to be a convoy. Is that a convoy around Caen into Smyrna for Austria? Does that get in?
Yeah,
that gets in. Big turn for Darcy, who then loans that build.
Well, yeah, Christian is mad, and Darcy is in Smyrna, and Christian is saying, "Wardy, screw you." I think there. I have to say, Wardy, that was an ambitious convoy to try to get into Caen. I guess Austria had offered him support, but even that's very easily cut by Turkey. I'd rather just support myself to Armenia for guaranteed forward movement. But hey, sometimes the risks come off and you look great. Isaac, far be it from me to criticise a fellow commentator, but you should be taking London from Channel there, because even if Belgium isn't being helped by Germany, Channel's very cuttable. Take it from Channel, Wales is not cuttable. So Channel should be the unit taking London. The disband is interesting. Maybe this is all some like 4D chess agreement, but I just don't see why you don't, if you're making such agreement, take London from it instead. So the whatever unit you're building, you could have just built without having to pull one off.
Definitely. Oops, this is the one I was doing. Extremely just in game so far. Well done. That obviously, I didn't call it out earlier. I did not see that as even an option. So definitely appreciate somebody doing something creative there. Winner of 1903, and McCallus, this one's you.
All right. So the West. This time, Germany attempts to convoy England into Norway, which does not succeed. Looks like it might have been misordered anyway, but it wouldn't have worked because Wardy does defend Norway. Wardy is now in Armenia correctly, but has got problems with Austria. This stab on Turkey hasn't really worked for Wardy so far, and it doesn't look like it's going to work anywhere at all, with Austria really lining up on Gao and keeping the pressure there. This all looks very arranged between Italy and Austria at the moment as well, like giving Italy Greece. Venice coming back is interesting, though. That might be the sign that maybe Wardy can get a wintergreen going from this position. Austria should be a bit concerned by that second army coming over towards them. And that is what we see. So that second army taps Budapest, which rescues Wardy in Romania. So that's nice. Turkey walks out of Smyrna and therefore loses that unit rather than staying there, which is just good news for Austria, who gets a build that they can't use. Oh no, they stay even with the Italian stab. Meanwhile, Italy is rewarded for their withdrawal from France by France trying to take Tunis and Tyrrhenian Sea. Okay, cool. Probably wouldn't have tried both if I was France, so I might have either gone for Tunis or just supported myself to Tis, but fair enough. And the West is still very, very chaotic, but this time it's Justin who walks into Edinburgh, and he does get that build he's had in pocket for a while.
Great position for Justin. And I wonder, seeing those moves, if these are moves he's wanted to enter for a while. You can see he's hard to interpret this any other way than he's getting ready to jump on France. And you think back to supporting that English army into the Channel back when Russia took Sweden. Was there a deal in place with Russia? Was there a deal in place where Germany thought he was keeping Sweden, so he was going to get cute and push England forward, and work with the two of them? And now he's got to adjust. The West is hard to figure out. This build's going to tell us something. I don't know what.
Yeah. In eons gone by, when I used to play Extended Deadline, particularly I played on WebDit, where draw size scoring was the norm, and so triples were often a thing because three-way draws were a great result. My favorite triple back in those days was Russia, Italy, Germany. The three of them I felt had really good ways to have one person be senior with some support from the other against every enemy that they faced, which made it a really stable triple, whilst also all having the advantage of not being really obvious moves that everyone knows how to defend against. Like everybody's seen an AI, everybody's seen an EF and EG. The GR, not so much. A wintergreen, not so much because it's late forming. All of these are less common, and therefore people don't automatically go, oh, right, I'm facing this. This is what I have to do. And the more thinking you make your opponent do, the better it tends to be for you. So, yes, I did like a good rig back in the day, especially as I was an admin. So, reading it in my favor was really good on WebDip.
All right, well, this is a very interesting point in the game. Great one for us to play. Who do you like? McCallus, we'll go to you first. Pick power. You want to replace him to win the game? Who do you pick?
Given that I would have picked Italy if France hadn't just gone for Tunis, but as they have, I'm going to go with Russia.
Why Russia?
I think that Wardy's got Italy on side, which is huge for him. Austria is going to be there for the taking for the two of them. And Russia, if Germany is going to attack France in full, Russia's not going to have threats on other fronts. Like Italy's got to fight a two-front war. Germany's got to do a war where he's basically doing all the work. Russia can just pick up what he wants in the south, pick up what he wants in the center. And if Germany's going the other way, it's really, really nice for Wardy.
Zach, if not Russia, then who?
You know, kill me for this, but I don't hate Austria here because I think that if F and G stick together, all of Austria's neighbors are under attack and Austria is not. And you have to be a strong player to take advantage of that. But Darcy's played 5 days in a row. How can he not be a strong player? If anybody's ready to take advantage of that, it's going to be Darcy and Austria. So I like it for the diplomatic reasons on the board, even though the position is ugly.
Army Berlin speaks to your favor. That's more pro-France than it is pro-Russia.
That is less pro-France than it is pro-Russia. That is Germany into the Channel, Munich into Burgundy. That is Christopher Ward getting everything he has ever wanted. And the convoy to Tuscany would have been beautiful if not for every single other thing that happened on this board to Isaac Jukes, the second best analyst on this broadcast at Playing France, I think we're ready to say. Darcy, for his part, not a great turn. He's going to get Greece, but that convoy to Albania hurts. Everything Ward did hurts. This board is G and it is R.
It is, but that little move of Norway to Sweden is really interesting. It's Wardy's now got a potential stab on Germany when they want it by dropping to Baltic Sea at some point, and maybe that will spook Justin. I wouldn't have liked to see that if I was playing Germany here.
No, me neither. And now it'll self-bounce over Sweden in an arranged scenario. Gal is going to try to go to Budapest. I believe it succeeds, right? Because Budapest is going into Trieste, which goes into Serbia. So a lot of things move, and the end result is Austria gets smaller, Italy and Russia get bigger. Justin Moore, Germany here, switches sides. Every season, it seems like he's going to go to Tyrolia. He's trying to support France into London. All of a sudden, not so anti-French, but you still look at this position, and Tyrolia could go to Piedmont. Bell could go back to Pick. Justin can just do whatever he wants.
So there's an argument that he's done that so that England comes off the board and can't threaten Edinburgh. And it actually makes the island easier for Justin to take. The cost, of course, is France building 2. He probably didn't expect France to get Tunis. France sort of lucked into that somewhat. So maybe he was expecting France to only build 1 and felt he could contain that better. I would expect that's the same sort of reason for why Wardy's helped Austria take Smyrna while stabbing Austria for Budapest. It's just get that Turkish unit off the board. Don't have to worry about it and awkward retreats, because if that unit falls in spring, you have to worry about retreats. If it falls in fall and gets disbanded, hey, not my problem. So that might be the case for why they've both done that. Darcy has a build.
And
not sure they can do much with it, but Darcy's got a build.
well, Peter Jürgen in the 2016 World Championship top board taught us that Austria can, in fact, build in Serbia under the right circumstances. Worth a try. But instead, Russia will let McCullough talk about the builds because it's his turn.
Yeah, so Russia has built the army in Sev, which is not good news for Austria because that's probably coming to Armenia to take over the Turkish dots. And they've built the army in St. Petersburg, which is as neutral as it can possibly get. Possibly even more neutral than Army Moscow. And it's not often you get to say something is more neutral than Army Moscow, but you're just sat in St. Petersburg, you're doing nothing with it. Still worrying for Germany, though, because if Sweden goes to Baltic, Russia can now cover both of those Scandinavian dots. So, yeah, Justin is playing with fire still.
It's there if Christopher Ward wants it, but doesn't have to execute on it right now while Justin's doing other things.
Yeah. All right. So what we see in the south is Wardy doesn't go to Armenia, but does take Con, which is nice. This is interesting where Wardy supports Austria into Serbia. So Wardy seems to have decided he doesn't need that alliance with Italy, even whilst taking dots from Austria. It's just, well, I don't care. So Wardy seems to be playing without an ally in the east anymore, which could work because Italy is dying very quickly and Austria is losing dots to Wardy anyway. So fair enough. Justin once again goes back onto the attack on France. So I don't care about London. I don't care the fact you built twice. Isaac decided to build an army in Brest. There are many reasons why people choose to build an army in Brest. Usually it's not so that they can let Germany move into Picardy anyway. But Isaac presumably had some sort of plan. This perhaps wasn't the best one to do with that build, but hey. And Germany's in Mid-Atlantic Ocean, which is always fun when France is at 8 centres but has lost Mao and Gascony.
Woof, and London to pick tells you that Germany promised a convoy, and given the amount of times he's gone back and forth on attacking France, you almost can't blame Isaac for believing it. But the knife is all the way in.
So Isaac says in the chat he was worried about the channel. What I would say there, Isaac, is maybe if you build Fleet Brest, you can cover Mid-Atlantic, and channel is a lot less scary. Far be it from me to say. All right, so this is everything GR everywhere at once now. Justin walks into Portugal and gets to take Brest at the same time. France is once again pulling out of an attack on Italy that hasn't gone their way. Germany also gets into Vienna and is therefore +3. Wardy has taken Smyrna and is +2. So GR is delightful. Everyone else is sort of imploding at this point. And yeah, this is great if you're Wardy. It's pretty good if you're Justin. It's pretty terrible if you're any of the other three.
Well, it's 11-10, and the board topper has a ton of growth potential. So McCullis, they should draw, right?
That's what I would do.
3 builds for Germany, all armies, and I like that. I like that here. When you're a fat cat as Germany, you got to firm up the center of the board. It's going to be Army Warsaw and Fleet South Coast for Christopher Ward, who doesn't care what anybody thinks about him. He wants more enemies, and he shall have them. Because he's ready to draw, of course. So yes, McCullis, the only way these tend to end. I hate this game.
Wardy is a man after my own heart. I approve greatly of this. Yeah, you've got the top. Why stab Justin? Justin is already on the top board. Justin probably doesn't even care about score that much. Justin's just here for the ride and the opportunity to stab France as many times as possible in a single game by the looks of it. So I think Justin ticked both of those boxes off as well as he possibly could. And why keep the game going if you're Justin? Vienna is completely unholdable. Wardy's put an extra fleet down. If Germany vetoes this draw, you possibly have to consider, can Wardy force a solo? I don't think it's there unless the game completely implodes, but the way that Italy, Austria, and France's games have been going, you can't entirely rule out the fact that this might actually just go so horrendously tits up that, yeah, Wardy could have got 5 centres I can see quite easily in the south. You managed to luck into Denmark. Denmark's quite easy to take, actually, with the 2 fleets and no fleet against it. That's 17. Could you force an 18th? Maybe.
It's potentially there. I don't think there's enough time. If it were not a time game, absolutely it's there. But no, I agree. This, unlike some others that we've had tonight, I do think I would take this draw for all the players. So, Zach, how about you?
I don't know. I'm not sure I would take it as Germany or Russia, to be honest. I think from Wardy's perspective, you can see that he's got the top. We're playing tribute. There's still a chance that he loses the top. So you can't go broke taking a profit. Even though pretty hard to lose that top, but board rallies and he makes good mistakes. from Justin, I think he had a lot of potential growth in France, and I wouldn't have. I don't think he had much to lose by at least playing another year and seeing if Wardy made a mistake and he could reclaim that top. Being second in tribute with 10 centers versus being second with 10 and Wardy has 14. I don't know if that's much of a difference. So I say play on.
Well, at the end
Zach
of the
mostly
day-
says play on because Justin didn't stab enough people for a Zach game. Zach wanted to see more stabs.
I like that he stabbed the same person multiple times. That's gratifying to me, but I still would have liked the knife to get around a little bit.
share the love.
Yeah.
That's what we do here. No, we're grateful to our players for letting us comment on their games, giving us some good entertainment. So thank you all, and congratulations, Christopher Ward, coming in, I believe, first games of the season so far, tops them both. 2 games, 2 tops. Those are all going towards his score, and one of them is a pretty decent score. That's definitely a player. If he plays another round or two, another month or two, he will be one to watch and will be in contention, setting himself up nicely at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Let's welcome back Isaac. Isaac, thank you for letting us comment on your games. And as always, when we bring somebody in who did play, I'll ask, what did we miss, and what was the key moments of the game from your perspective?
Well, yeah, we couldn't give you 2 FGs in a row. That would have been boring. Had to vary it up. I think you got most of it. I think. Yeah. Also, I did see that move. With Channel. Just in standard fashion, I saw it. The second orders went through, because that's always when you see it. I don't really think there's anything that you guys particularly missed. Just the reason that that draw was taken by the Russians is that they were winning. Germany, the reason the Germans took that draw is because they didn't really see that much progress, especially because Italy wasn't attacking me. And so that meant I could just kind of continue to hang around and annoy them, both on the island and in the south. And it was hard for them to break through and really get anything significant more that Woody couldn't easily match. Yeah. No, Justin, I'm not going to tell them how good friends we are. You just stabbed me.
All right. Well, thanks again for the game, and let's do another one. And with that, we're saying farewell to Zachary Moore, and McCallus, you will take the lead on this one. Why don't you introduce our players?
This is the fight of the evening round, right? So are we good on time? Do we need to jump between games?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, cool. Right. In Austria, we have Jason Gray playing out of Sydney. In England, we have Dash B back for more. France, we have Craig Mayer back for more himself. Germany, we have Zoe. So a lot of multiple game players today. Italy, John Bean. Russia, Fan I Am, another one played again. And Turkey, we have Patrick Jacobson. So nobody particularly high in the standings yet, but as we've just seen from Wardy, who's just strung together 2 tops in a row, people can come from nowhere to really move up the standings quite rapidly, and maybe one of these guys can do that today. All right, so Spring of 01, we see pretty standard openings in the West. We see a bounce in Piedmont, which you don't see very often. Probably for good reason. Stephen Hode's just left, so he won't get to see the move he was calling for earlier. But there's a reason why you don't usually bounce in Piedmont, and that's because if Italy lets France into Piedmont, that's really, really bad for France. France, under no circumstance, basically ever wants to actually get into Piedmont in 1901. So that's why it's not a very common bounce, but in this case, trade's fine. The bounce has gone through. The East is a lot more interesting. We have Fad I Am, who was very dynamic in the game we saw earlier, being dynamic again up to the St. Petersburg. They go with Moscow. DMZ in Galicia, which Jason uses to neither go to Gao nor to Trieste, goes straight to Budapest. And Fad I Am is rewarded for their opening north with a Sunstrom by Patrick, but they seem to have a friendly Austria for now. So maybe this is going to turn into another AIR. It's been the sort of triple of the evening so far, or maybe it won't.
It used to be that whenever you were playing, whenever you were DMZing Gal, that you would use it to cover Trieste. But this move to Budapest is starting to become more popular as an option that people are taking, rather than always covering Trieste.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, Wes Ketchum did a series of stats where he brought up openings and how often they led. Now, Austria, I think, actually had the highest top percentage when they did Vienna to Budapest. Because in the games where it didn't immediately backfire and Italy and Russia killed them, it gave them a really, really strong position in the Balkans very quickly, because you've now got big influence on rum and the potential even to go +3 if you're feeling brave. And yeah, John, I think he's underplaying the card a bit there, because if I remember rightly, John, did you not win Boston Massacre this year?
You did. So, John, welcome to the broadcast. Welcome to Virtual Play. Thank you for playing, letting us comment on your game, and giving us something to talk about in spring of 1901 with that bounce in Piedmont.
Well, it does go for Romania, so this is why you can do that. Not such good news for Fan I Am this game, who seems to have had everything go wrong all at once in this position. Italy does the Trieste load, and it's not often you get to load Trieste and still build 2 as Austria, so that's fantastic for Jason. Turkey's pulled out of the attack on Russia, but Russia hasn't pulled out of an attack on Turkey. So, and in the north, we see England going straight to Barents, convoy to Norway, very, very anti-Russia. This all smells very Western Tripoli. Yeah, Belgium, no agreement on Belgium, but also no one doing anything hostile there yet.
Sometimes that's just what happens, though, because the theory is, well, I want Belgium. Well, I want Belgium. Well, why don't just neither of us have it then?
That was what was going to happen in my game until Germany said, hey, I'll build 2 fleets if you give me Belgium. And I'm like, yeah, sure.
I don't dislike that. That's actually, especially if I'm France. But I really don't have a problem if Belgium stays neutral in 1901. Gives you an opportunity to watch what's happening in the East, and then you can make some decisions about who to ally with then, which I think is good for the West in general, unless you've just got a strong alliance that you can play up tempo from the gate.
So in the chat, Flanders has said a bounce in Belgium is Tripoli. And Flanders is Patrick. I know that. What's Tripoli, Patrick, is England convoying to Norway and going to Barents and going very, very anti-Russia. Maybe in a triple, Belgium goes to Germany. Rarely it goes to France, but that's enough to trigger my spidey senses as I'm any other power on this board. If England's very anti-Russia, it tends to be a sign that a triple may be coming.
I mean, they're the sucker.
Yeah, I mean, Army Brest and Army London kind of seem like this probably isn't going to be a Western triple. I think that's probably not the builds you make.
Yeah, France's builds are not triple builds.
Don't know what that London hold is, but it's pretty brutal. Giving France some strong position there. Turkey decides that they actually would quite like the Black Sea. And we've managed to get into another air. We seem to like airs at the moment. And in the West, we've got another FG from the looks of things. Even another delayed Sea Lion.
Yep. So, as Brian said, England's either in a Western triple or they're the sucker. And unfortunately for Dash, they're the sucker here. They lose Norway to the Russians and have their army piffed in the process while being stabbed by France and Germany, which is about as bad as that can get. They're very, very open. They do have some relief. Germany at least has big problems on Munich, so that might be a source of relief for Dash.
They are in fact losing Munich because they cannot cover it.
If everyone keeps on the same position
yeah.
they are at the moment.
Yeah. If
Diplomatically, you can save it.
Yeah.
I do like the early move from the center of the board from Austria and Italy into Trolia Bohemia here. That's a very up-tempo play that shows they've got a lot of confidence that they're going to stick together with this air and get enough success to be able to push, make an early push against the line. It's a little bit risky, something I don't see very often, but if it pays off, it'll be really fun to see. Just to see the East across the line that fast would be unique.
That sounded dangerously close to being pro AIR, Brian. Journalistic integrity. If this was the BBC, you'd be probably under investigation for that sort of comment. Can't be having too much of that on a broadcast.
Yeah. I mean, Germany does manage to pull it off diplomatically because they get French help, and the convoy to Wales signifies that this is a full FG, and Germany, but it's an FG and not a sea lion, which is very important to the English because although the Germans get the North Sea, they do lose Denmark for their troubles, and so England's actually not in as bad of a spot as you would expect here. Although Denmark is a little positionally out of the way. Then in the East, you just have positioning. And you seem to have Russia maybe switching back to working with the Turks, but AI definitely has the advantage in the East.
I'm really surprised, actually. It looked like AI was setting up for a piff on that Russian fleet so it could be rebuilt. And instead, they're just letting Russia build too, while Austria doesn't build at all, which puts a lot of power in Italy's court, I'd say. And maybe Jason will come to regret that.
Good negotiation by Russia if they were able to make that happen. Ben, I am having a very good first round game that we've covered. And so far, coming back from what could have been a pretty rough Russian position so far. So impressing with some diplomatic chops here in winter of 1902.
And this is why perhaps you don't piff that Russian fleet, because they've said, I'll put down a second one. And that, if I'm John, should start to worry me, because AIR don't need extra fleets in the south. AR need extra fleets in the south. We've already said once tonight why Russia goes through Col and puts extra fleets into the bed when it's an AR. We may well see that again, and this may be an early tip-off to John that perhaps this AIR isn't really the alliance he should be in. It would certainly be concerning me at this point.
Other question I've got is fleet in Liverpool. Is that better defensively than the army? Does it make a difference?
It has more flexibility, and also you can't. Liverpool's. You can hit things like Irish, which doesn't do that much, but it just lets you move a bit more. If they want to take Liverpool, Wales to Irish guarantees it, and there's nothing you can do to stop it.
Yeah, the fact you can't defend Liverpool is why I probably build the army. Don't need to defend Liverpool, though. What do I know? France takes London, but does it in a way that may even have been agreed or tacitly agreed after the turn, as fair enough, I can now make you a janissary and England will begrudgingly accept, because they've put Wales in. So they're not threatening Liverpool at all. And very prescient read from Craig. He realised John was coming at exactly the right time, because John has thrown all his units west and Craig has gone down to mid-Atlantic and gone, ha! I saw your move coming and you're not getting the jump on me. So well done, Craig. That's really good for him. Fan I Am goes down to Baltic and gets excellent position on Zoe. Bad news for Germany. This is the problem when Germany is in a game where there's an AIR, all units sort of converge into the middle, and Germany rarely does well in games where all the units are converging into the middle, because they're in the middle, and it's quite hard to grow when everyone is all around you at all the time. Okay. All right. I didn't see that one coming, but I did predict that bad things were coming for Zoe, and even worse things were coming because France has stabbed for Belgium, and in turn lost London but pulled it off the board. Okay, fair enough. That's a very Craig Mayer thing to do, to one dot your ally and give up a dot elsewhere to do it. That's Craig Mayer in France, so I'm not surprised. Of course it did, Craig. Just like all those other stabs break your heart. This glorious 0 dot stab on Germany. You will suffer for many seconds, I think, before you consider making another one on somebody else. Italy has got into Mao, which is always fun for Italy. France could have blocked that because they wouldn't have been bounced out of Belgium. So, yeah, there you go, Craig. That's perhaps why you don't stab for Belgium.
Yeah, I think the Mao move there is really the big one. I think even if you were going to take a shot at Belgium, now I think this is sort of a way to try and press your advantage, but I think it's better to do it diplomatically. It's better to say to Germany, hey, you're dealing with issues in the East, so I'm going to take Belgium because what can they really do about it? They still need you on side as their friend.
It's also, like Craig has said in the chat, well, I get to build things. You know who else gets to build things, Craig? The person who's attacking you, Italy, because they've just taken Munich because you didn't help defend it. Now, who can possibly say whether letting the person who's attacking you is bad for you? I wouldn't ever go that far, but I might say that maybe you could have convoyed London into Belgium and still defended Munich, and maybe that might have been better.
I'm sure this is secretly a France-Italy alliance with Italy in mid-Atlantic.
It would be glorious if Italy just used that to go up and attack England now. Because nobody else has successfully attacked England. Dash has defended this brilliantly from a horrendous position to come back. And even though they're pulling at this moment, not really be under threat from anyone.
Fleet Liverpool, that's what it is.
Patrick, having a rough game in Turkey. All of our turkeys today have had a pretty rough time, kind of continuing here. But the move that I wanted to call out and get some feedback on was Austria taking Romania. Is that a dangerous sign for Russia, or do you think that they're working together still?
Well, they pulled it off the board, so it had to be by agreement. It's great news for John, whether he's negotiated that or not. As I said before, those extra Russian fleets in the south are bad news for Italy, and John has, by somehow, managed to get that extra fleet off the board. Does still have a little hole around Ionian Sea that Austria could technically go into, but John's building two, so you're less concerned by that at this stage, I think. Fad I Am probably gets to build something fun in the north, like an extra fleet now with that as well. That's what I would expect to see.
And a wave.
The wave is brave. I probably would have built the other one in Moscow just to say Austria, don't do it. But hey, bravery is rewarded.
Yeah. They are our friends. And that mid-Atlantic unit lets Italy start to make some progress against the French. And France still seems to be defending against Italy, but also still moving on Germany. So I think we've seen a lot of sort of Western dominance. I think ball's in the East court for this game. The East is pushing, and I think it's a question of if Budapest is, well, it looks like there's just been a stab on Italy, but I don't know how effective it is with Marseille and now also possibly Spain both falling.
Yeah, so Craig said in the chat that he wouldn't have got to build a fleet if he didn't take Belgium. How's that fleet going, Craig? How's that fleet going?
And Trieste was indeed a pass-through. So I think Con was maybe arranged in that case. or possibly maybe Italy patch things up. After all, it's not a stab until the fall turn. And then it's just more Eastern dominance while the West sort of try to figure out who's who and what's what. But they fail to retake anything off of the West that's converging on them. I think Austria's sitting pretty here because you're in the middle and you're not really getting much, but also nobody's threatening you and everybody's walking the other direction.
Yeah, so back in, I think it was 2021, where airs were every other game. Airs were the dominant meta of the hobby in 2021. It was a terrible time to play Turkey, which so far tonight, that's been the case as well. But there were sort of two schools of thoughts back then on airs, on Austria in particular, is Austria's in the middle, so they're the weak one, or Austria's in the middle, so they're the best positioned one. And I was always of the latter. I actually loved being Austria a lot more than I love being either of their neighbours, because I think Austria, when an air is going, as we're seeing right now, Austria is the one that can decide which ally to stab and at what time. Russia could stab Austria, can't stab Italy. Italy could stab Austria, can't stab Russia. But in both cases, Italy and Russia are moving units in the other direction, and Austria's only got this little channel to go through into Munich. And technically, we even saw Fogels back then where they actually stayed together and he had the air go the whole way across and just went through Munich, and Austria still got up to 11. But so you actually have three options as Austria. You stick with the air, you stab Russia, or you stab Italy, and you don't have to have a real time pressure on when to do it. So I like this position for Jason. I will say, though, that Fan I Am is getting into that Russian position where I don't really care what Austria does. I'm in an incredible position if I'm Russia.
So, Isaac, we'll go to you first. Who do you like in this game?
I mean, I was going to say that I like Austria, but then I saw the number next to that purple plus. And I think that changes my answer. I think in this strong of a position, unless you get coalitioned by the entire board, which with the units they have and the placement they have, I don't think is going to be easy. I really like the Russian position here. I think you've got strength around Scandinavia and Denmark. You're not really threatened in the south, and it's hard for you to be successfully threatened because now that Germany's been taken out of the middle, there's not really anyone who can sort of get at you in combination.
Nicholas, if not Russia, then who?
So having just bigged up how much I like Austria's in airs, I should really pick Austria here. But given how big Russia is, I'm actually going to say Italy. Because I think if Austria stabs Italy at this stage, it's suicidally bad from them. So I think it's very unlikely that Austria will stab Italy here. And given that that's the case, and given how messy the West is and still is and has been, as you've easily got, say, Spain and Portugal in pocket and potential with all those French fleets that are actually horrendous for defending Paris area. The whole of France, bar Belgium, is really takeable by Italy by the end of this game. So I am going to say Italy's got great growth if they can engineer an AR war that Russia doesn't win. They don't need Austria to win, but they need Austria to at least stalemate with Russia.
Winner of 1904, Fan I Am, another wave, puts down Army Warsaw, Fleet St. Pete North Coast. Dash, very impressed with Dash sticking in, hanging around in this game. Puts down Fleet Eddie, and we get the fleet from John in Naples and Army in Budapest from Jason in Austria. And we say farewell to Zoe, who, by all accounts in chat, was a really fun player to play with. Zoe, thank you for playing. Rough game. Hope to see you on another board soon. Nicholas, this one's you.
Yeah. Chat said that Zoe was fun to play with. Chat didn't say anything about Patrick, so Patrick, clearly you're not fun to play with. I know you're here in chat as well. All right. Austria has not stabbed Russia. Potentially has stabbed Italy, and I think that is, as I said bore, suicidally bad if that's actually what that is. So I'm hoping that either Trieste is by agreement or they're going to walk straight back out. By agreement would actually make a fair amount of sense. So it's not unreasonable to do it that way. This is actually looking very reminiscent of the Fogel games I mentioned, where AIR just roll the entire board and that's all that happens. So we may be in for a long ride here, because those games can go quite a long time before someone does or doesn't stab at the end of it. But Italy is into Spain, as I said. They followed up into Marseille, as I said. France is on the verge of death. Italy's got a nice forward retreat up to North Atlantic, which means that England's sort of tied up around Liverpool as well. England's going to lose North Sea most likely. Yeah, this is AIR just continuing to roll. Okay, so Trieste was indeed by agreement. Just let it go there. Austria doesn't even take Munich while Italy walks back out of it, such as this AIR position. These are Fogel moves. Italy goes straight up to Clyde, which was potentially blockable. Perhaps should have been blocked given that they weren't trying to hold North Sea, but Dash has done a great defense so far, so I'm not going to criticize them for missing this slightly wild move, especially given that France has been part of the convoy of it. Craig is perhaps buying time, or perhaps just this appeals to his chaotic nature. He's found a way to stab England when he's not even next to them. So,
I mean,
what can I say?
You need a 1.
You do, and Craigmare will always find a way to stab you. You don't even need to be next to Craigmare and he'll find a way to stab you. So that is the key takeaway.
I love it, Craig. The convoy. I mean, if you got France on your side, this is going to go quick. So I'm going to just keep moving us forward here.
Craig's just disbanded Paris. So that's a pretty strong statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here we go. I don't think we need to move quickly anymore, Isaac.
I don't think so either, looking at those Austrian moves. Austria's decided that actually everyone else is having all the fun, and they would like Warsaw and Sèvres and Munich for their troubles.
And Moscow.
And Moscow. Well, maybe, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, maybe they won't go there, but they probably will. So the question is if the big question's going to be, I think, because France has made their way into London, but really EF is kind of irrelevant at this point. Sorry, EF. The question I think really is going to be whether the Italians stick with the Austrians or work with the Russians against them in this position. Munich seems to imply that that's not the case, but we'll have to see.
I don't even think Munich is necessarily a stab on Italy. I think it could move out again, Berlin or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that Fanoyam, they played brilliantly so far. That extra 4th fleet, once Italy was already in Clyde and North Atlantic, Air don't need an extra fleet up there. Build the extra army and just make sure this doesn't happen. Perhaps a little bit of complacency there sort of set in that Austria hadn't stabbed earlier when perhaps it was advisable for Austria to do it. And unfortunately, if you leave the door open long enough, someone probably will walk through it eventually. And in this case, Jason has done just that to pretty devastating effect.
Says the France who did that in a game we saw earlier today. So
And we see pretty clearly where the Italian loyalties lie, which is with the Russians. So now we've got sort of the transformation into a wintergreen, and I think this actually puts Italy in a really nice spot because Italy's grabbing England, grabbing the remnants of France, and now Italy has an excuse to go and take Austrian dots, which they didn't before.
So far be it from me to call myself prescient, but I did outline a path to an Italian top where they take all the French dots and win because there's an AR war. So far, so good. They're even ahead of schedule because they're taking Liverpool to boot. Yeah, helping Russia is fun because it doesn't matter. Russia is not winning this game anymore. They're on 10, but this is not the best looking 10 Russian dots I've ever seen. Everybody else is sort of dead. France is pulling more units off the board, and Italy doesn't necessarily need to actually take dots from Austria to win this game. They just need Austria not to grow while Italy mops up stuff elsewhere.
John been introducing himself to the Virtual Diplomacy League with a very impressive debut as Italy. Winner of 1906. How big can he get? Will be the question. We ended there.
Wow.
Big.
Isaac, is this the right result?
I don't think so. I think you have more play around the West. You can get Portugal, you can get London, you can get Eddie, especially if you have a friendly France and a Russia who's going to be bending over backwards to help you from this position. And you can still defend yourself effectively against the Austrians. You maybe temporarily lose Venice, but you have enough fleets to hold them off in the south. I think that I don't take this draw as the Italians.
Michaelis?
I don't take this draw as the Italians ever, because, as I said, I actually think Italy has a better position to top than Austria does, even though Austria is presently top. I take this draw the second it's offered, as if I'm Jason. The second someone says draw, I'm like, yes, I know I want to draw. Please let me draw. I might not even take this draw as Russia, though. It's been a while, but a couple of years ago, we saw a game where Nick Almontangelo played Russia. It was a very crazy game, and they topped that board as Russia, where St. Petersburg was the only home centre they owned at the end of it. And Russia's got Edinburgh in pocket. They've got London in pocket. They're only a couple dots behind, and now they have a friendly Italy. What else is Austria taking from Russia in the meantime? Russia may well have actually been able to top this game if this game had kept going and things sort of rolled in their favour. So, yeah, I definitely don't take it as Italy. I probably don't take it as Russia. And the chaos agent in me, if I'm France, would probably veto just because it's really funny. Maybe not England, because England's probably going to die if they don't get the draw through now. But Craig Bear's a chaos agent. Craig Bear could have vetoed this draw. Take Spain back, see what happens.
I understand taking the draw here. I wish that we had the opportunity to see this play out. This would have been this was such a fun game. I want to set that stage first. Really, really fun game to watch and to commentate. I just wish that we had the opportunity to see more. Thank you to all of our players for doing that, and congratulations, Jason, for a very hard-fought top. And then also, I'll say, Matt, welcome. Looks like Matt was our Dash England player, and really, really impressive way to hang on. You are the one player on this board that I absolutely would have taken the draw, and excellent defense. Really, really liked to see you. I could tell that you were playing this game, even when it got hard. You were still continuing to find a way to be part of it. So much respect. And with that, Michaelis, we're going to give you a break. Thank you, and welcome back, Zachary Moore. Zach, welcome.
Thank you. Ready to end the night off with a bang.
Well, we've got a couple more to go, 2 more to go, in fact. So let's go ahead and bring that one up. Before I do that, anything stand out to you at that last game?
Just veto more draws. Everyone should veto more draws. You set aside 6 hours to play the game. What's another couple hours? Make everybody mad. Nobody's ever regretted vetoing a draw.
Nobody, never. All right. And I do that whole fancy thing, and I forgot to bring it up. So let's get back to... Here we go. Game 204. Zach, let's introduce our players here. Or I'm sorry, this should be Isaac.
Okay. So in Austria, we have Jamal Bakali. He's played like just a few games in Australia, I've heard. In England, we have King of Prussia, a relatively well-known player from the variant scene who's starting to make their way into virtual. In France, we have Makoto. In Germany, we have Justin Law once again. In Italy, we have Roni doing the night shift. In Russia, we have Alan Thompson, and in Turkey, we have Christian Brown. So a lot of people double rounding this month.
Yeah, good to see. Thank you all for doing that. So we get more games to cover. And with that, let's get right to it.
Oh, we've seen a channel opening, but now we get to see the reverse channel opening with England dropping down there. It's what my eyes are immediately drawn to in the West. And a move on Piedmont. You're just missing Burgundy for the anti-France trifecta. But Tyrolia, yeah, the East is going a little wester than they usually are at this point, especially AI. But it's interesting to see the drop into Channel and Tyrolia and Piedmont. Everything else is pretty standard moves, but definitely trying to get some early play in the West out of the East.
Huh.
Four. Channel takes Belgium. Quite a common way of patching things up. Also, quite a common way of not patching things up, because you take Belgium, and then if France covers Brest, they can't build in Brest, and you say, great. In fact, France only getting the one build here is pretty bad for them. And Tyrolia was full of regret, so it made its way back down to Trieste. And the fleet in Tunis is interesting. It seems like we've already got a bit of a England-Italy alliance going on, with Germany just sort of holding before deciding what they want to do. And in the East, we've got some Russians and some Turks fighting as usual. And then Italy grabs Tunis and Austria grabs what you'd expect.
Full of regret is so many of my games. It's one of my favorite statements I've heard, Isaac. A winner of 1901. Zach, what are we looking at?
Well, what a lovely first year that was for the East. And Jamal will put down 2 armies. What else can he do? Alan in Russia will do the same for Christian Brown in Turkey. It'll be a fleet in Smyrna, maybe hedging a little bit. The fleet Naples for Roni's Italy, and an army in Paris with France's one build. Double barrel fleets from King of Prussia. We know which way he's going, and we know which way Justin Law is going with those 2 armies. It just keeps getting worse for France. Welcome to the Virtual Diplomacy League, Makoto. Good defense, though. Good defense. Might have picked a different coast, but that could be diplomatic, putting Portugal in the north coast. Maybe a deal with Italy, who doesn't really poke at him. So everything gets bounced. It's a terrible turn, but the least terrible turn he could have envisioned. E and G bouncing over the North Sea, and Jamal Blakarli has finally had enough of Christian Brown. 3 turns into the game. It'll be, I guess, an AIR over there.
Don't be Turkey. Don't be Turkey if it's October VDL.
But Christian, in his Christian Brown way, has slid into Ionian while repositioning his units, and Jamal did not see Trieste because that was a bounce over Tyrolia. Jamal's going to build from Romania, so another change in the East. I don't know who's friends with who over there, to be completely honest. More fantastic defense from France. EG has made absolutely no progress. And now, if there was a home center open, France would be building. This is an FG, or I'm sorry, an EG that had every advantage and has gone nowhere in 1902. That loss of tempo might not cost them the battle against France, but it could cost them a battle against the East for
Well,
cleaning up their side of the
what
board
did-
first.
What did Ruhr do here?
Ruhr tried to support. Ruhr anticipated a self bounce over Burgundy, so Ruhr wanted to support Marseille up with an unwanted support to allow Italy to slip in behind. Makoto would have none of that. He says, "I'm going to bounce you out of Picardy." Makoto is reading their order
Yeah.
books right now with his defense.
So I feel like the problem with this kill France triple from the beginning has been that Germany sort of took a year to decide to commit, and when you're trying to kill France, that early jump is super important, and even that 1 year of delay can cost you a lot tempo wise.
And look who's building too, Jamal Blakarli. Let him have all the dots. Why
Can
not?
only build one.
You can't even build the other one. Christian Brown down to 3 centers, but in the Ionian. I almost stole your
Okay.
year, Isaac, but it's your year.
How dare you? I mean, we just see advancement made here by the EG here into France proper, and they're starting to make some play around Scandinavia. Getting Sweden to lose Norway is probably fine. It's not a deal I love, but you just sort of got to keep Russia in check up there if you want to be effective, especially when they do things like go to Prussia. And then that Ionian move has made them go, actually, I don't think I want to be involved in this France attack anymore. I'd rather just have a nice little IT where we work together and I don't get attacked anymore. And so we're starting to see that form. But Austria sort of trying to move against Italy and also moving a little bit against Russia here. So it'll be interesting to see where they end up trying to go, given that they don't have a friend in Turkey anymore. And why bother? Why take Norway when you can have Norway and keep Sweden? Much better moveset. But EG do make progress around France, with Italy still getting a piece of that action and getting into Marseille, but also taking out Belgium here. So maybe Jamal's decided that actually Russia's a better friend than anyone in the West. Who needs the West? I'll just handle that myself. Jamal trying to make a sort of Eastern alliance bloc here by working with the Russians in the north and the Italians in the south to try and keep France and England in check.
This is the second Justin Lohr game in a row where he's drawn Germany and just played everybody off of each other. He threw Italy at France, threw England at France, and now has stabbed England pretty effectively, pending the diplomacy here. Building one, I'm thinking it's got to be an Army Munich, and Justin has got to find a friend if he wants this move to look clever. It's going to be a build from Russia as well, and one from Italy. So a lot of pieces shifting here in this winter of 1903. Army
Fleet out of
Rome,
Justin is bold.
fleet out of. Oh yeah. So all in on France and maybe feeling, or on England and maybe feeling like he's got to deal with Jamal and the Eastern Bloc to say, hey, if I stab England, you turn around. And he is very much following through on that. And if you're Jamal or Allen, do you want to be in Munich in spring of 1904 with Turkey behind you? Probably not. So I don't think this is a bad gamble from Justin saying, look, I'm going the other way. Why don't you?
And if you're Russia, you also desperately want that friend up in the north, because if you're Russia and you want to keep any of what you hold in the north, You need EG to be fighting, and the easiest way to get them to stop fighting is to help someone into Munich.
One thing to point out, Justin saying there were some NMR issues that were plaguing this particular game. That doesn't happen super often in virtual play, fortunately. When you play extended deadline, unfortunately, that's kind of a par for the course unless you're on a very active event like the Olympus or the Nexus tournaments or something like that. But learning how to play through those NMRs, either on the side of the person who didn't get their orders in, and apologize, NMR slang, for those who don't know, no moves received, means that no one entered their orders, and so they're processed as holds across the board. So for those players, either had a server issue or it didn't actually get the orders in. Either one could have been true. How they play through that, how they respond to not getting their orders in, or how other people respond to it can play a huge impact on these games. I've seen one NMR completely change the dynamic of a game. So let's keep an eye out for if that causes any kind of impact, messes with tempo, things like that.
And in the spring of 1904, Russia takes all the tempo, accepting support into Romania, swinging back to Gallen, Ukraine. This is Austria and Russia accepting Justin's offer in two very different ways, and beneficial for Russia as Jamal tries to go all in on Italy, and Alan says, "Let me take everything you have right behind you." And meanwhile, he's advancing in the north. This is great for Russia.
But Russia doesn't. But Germany doesn't believe that they took that offer because he supports himself back to Munich at the cost of Burgundy.
Yeah, and if that is the end of any war he could have had with France. Now it's got to be turn France into a junior partner and finish off England as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Did England misorder that convoy? What happened there? To Belgium.
We're supported, and there's only one support.
We're supported Belgium.
Yep.
Okay.
Right. And into the fall of 1904, it will be Russia into the North Sea. Germany plays defensive, and Allen is unable to capitalize on his attack because Christian Brown doing Christian Brown things all over Sevastopol. Well, Roni's into Smyrna. This is a lot of dipsy doodle in the east. Nobody really getting anywhere. Roni comes out a dot ahead at least. But that will be a best to clean up for everybody.
Yeah.
England's going to walk into Spain because France guessed wrong. So that's +1 for King of Prussia at a time that he badly needed it.
Yeah. Just for some stability there against the GR that's formed once again. Dropping Budapest here from Jamal is very interesting. Kind of says that he's willing to sort of give Russia the dominant position around the Austrian core. You see Russia starting to pull back because you generally don't want the Turks in Moscow when you can get away with it. And moving up to Warsaw to try and kick them out of there as well, which does free up the Austrians to get into Romania with a little bit of a fun little double move where Jamal walks into Romania with support from the Turks whilst also taking Greece off of the Turks. So always fun when you can pull something like that off. And we've moved from GR having this really dominant position around the continent in England to it not really being, to England sort of being in the stronger position, but there's not really a clear winner in the West at the moment, which I think is the problem because the East is very much still trying to make plays in areas like Munich and France and Scandinavia. So the West sort of needs to figure out who's going to do what if they want to have any chance of countering whatever this East ends up becoming.
I think the Russian move onto Denmark here is a little bit of paranoia there, thinking Germany was going to send those armies to Prussia and Silesia. If you're Russia, the one thing you have in this game is a strong ally in the center of the board, and that bit of loss of confidence and defensiveness may have taken that away. Of a heavy lifting here diplomatically to clean that up.
I don't know. This might be arranged if they're doing it for a second turn in a row. But you see the moves on France. You see a weird position here where Italy's effectively replaced Germany in the sort of standard role that you'd have here, where England's got all the fleets and Italy has all the armies in a perfectly normal board state that we see all the time. And we see a switch back to Italy as Italy's the dominant player in the East, and everyone else is just sort of maneuvering around. But the East is still struggling to figure out what it's going to be, and it's just sort of dotting back and forth between nobody's really gaining anything, which means that Roni is the one getting all the growth because he is the one who has some play in the West, because England still needs him to deal with France.
And it will be a build for Roni and 2 for Jamal, who from the dead has kind of come back into this game. Christian Brown will build as well. He's just been lurking back there waiting for his opportunity and not far behind given the way this thing is jumbled into an enormous mess.
Our lines of spaghetti all intertwined over there with our score chart. Shows the chaos of this particular game. On that note, let's pause and play Who Do You Like? Zach, I'll go to you first.
None of them, but Roni the most. I mean, I think he's vulnerable in the West. He can't hold that, but he just needs to use the excess dots to get a bigger foothold in the East. And I think he can talk Christian Brown into helping him. They have some naturally aligned incentives here that Roni can come out ahead of. So if you have to pick somebody, and I guess I do, it'll be Roni.
Who do you like? None of them. Isaac, if not Italy, then who?
I think if not the Italians, then I think I probably go for the Russians here. Again, I think the story of this game so far is that the East is a mess, and the West is also a mess, but to a lesser degree. And so the more influence you can have in the West, the better. But the problem is that everyone in the West is sort of too small to be viable. And so I think Russia sort of has a decent position to hold on to what they have, or even make progress, especially if they still have the Germans on side, and can sort of start dropping down into places like Austria and Turkey, especially if the Italians start moving east again.
Alan confirming what this score chart confirms. So this is a messy board. I'm here for it. This is fun. We got Jamal putting down 2 in winter of 1905. We've got Christian putting down an army in Ankara. Zach, you're grimacing. Talk to me about that.
Nothing about the builds. The builds are are fine. I think Roni's got to put the army down to convoy it. Christian's got to put the army down to be friends with Roni. So I like the builds. It doesn't make me think this game is going to get anything prettier. The East did not need more armies as a collective. And here's Roni doing what he needs to do. This is how you take advantage of the marginal edge you have as Roni. Drop into Adriatic, convoy over to Albania, do whatever you got to do to keep England your friend for as long as possible with that one lonely dot in the West. You're losing Marseille and Brest. You're not going to keep them, so you just need to get as much as you can, as fast as you can in the East and hope that it's enough. Not good for him that Russia is staying on side with Jamal here. If there's one thing that the East needs, it's to kill anybody, and especially Roni. Somebody's got to take dots from somebody without losing their own. In the West, Justin has recollected Burgundy, as he tends to do. It looks like he's trying to make peace with England here and turn this into a strong alliance. He's got a little guessing game in Scandinavia in the fall. Kind of liking Russia's position here, having the well, not overall, but in the north, having the potential to maybe gain an ally, either Germany or England, and produce a stable equilibrium up there.
Yeah, I think the support on North Sea is really significant there because it shows that England's not fully on board with working with Germany here from this position.
Fall of 1906, Germany. Wow, this is the best thing for both Germany and Russia, to just find an arrangement. Germany's going to walk into Norway. Russia's going to convoy out of a German dot to an English dot. This is fantastic for both of them. Finally, something good in the West. And somehow, by the way, Justin has convinced everybody that he should be the one to take Trieste in the East. And Roni's going to give Serbia to Christian. So Roni took all this position, loses his shirt in the West, and says, "No, everybody, you can have all the dots. I don't need them."
He doesn't. Serbia hasn't got into, but why? I don't think Norway's arranged here. I just don't think that you would walk out of Denmark like this if you knew that the Germans were going to Norway, especially with St. Pete still being open and having a Turkish problem.
I can't argue with you. I just have no words.
So we've got, just go back this turn. I love this turn so much. We've got Germany moving into Norway. We've got Russia moving into London. We've got England picking up 2 Italian centers. We've got Italy supporting Germany into Austria. Everybody's being very giving of each other's territories this game. For a group that did not like each other, they're trying to make up for it in this one turn all at once. Net result, Roni, big loser, going down to England, despite the convoy of the army onto London, still nets 1 build, which could make a pretty big difference. And Justin Lohr being the big winner with 2 centers. Also currently in the lead. Can he hold it as we come towards the back half of the game? Winner of 1906. What are we looking at, Isaac?
Fleet Eddie suggests that he probably can. Although I don't know if you'd rather have seen an army here. I think a fleet makes the most sense, though, because you want either England sort of replacing France and going into the Med, or you want them going into Scandinavia. So you probably would have preferred to see Fleet Liverpool here. But I think this is more flexible for England. Dropping Gascony was always going to happen, and dropping Adriatic makes sense. Can't really hold that area. That is the end of the game.
Oh, I was not expecting that. And we may have some input here. What hasn't been mentioned is multiple draw votes opposed by one person, how that affected what followed. If anybody wants to give us
Jamal?
context on that, I'd love to hear it. This is not the outcome I was expecting in spring of 07. I thought we were just kind of getting warmed up, but I guess this is the kind of game the players are done. Yeah, so Zach, I'll go to you. What's your thought?
I think it's got to be Jamal, right? Because he was the one where everybody was all of a sudden happy to help each other into his centers at the end there. This is a miracle for Justin Lohr. He was in no position to stop this board. Not in 03, not in 05, not in spring of 06, and he just pulled it out of his hat at the last second and convinced everybody to draw. That's why he's number one in VDL. A good natural German player, I think we've seen in 2 games today. Just the way he dances in the center of the board, keeps so many options open at the same time, and can switch positions without burning bridges. Really impressive in both games for him.
Isaac, what's the takeaway that you got from this game?
Kill people, or you'll have boards that end up like this. The takeaway from this game is that you need to sort out your theatre before the other theatre sorts themselves out. Because if either the West or the East could have stabilized into an alliance here, with the absolute mess that was going on the other side of the board, they could have thrown themselves across the line with ease. So basically, you got to be more ruthless. You got to kill more people.
We're such a positive channel here on the Diplomacy Broadcast Network, but I agree with resolving the theater. I mean, compare this to some of the other games that we've seen. There's a classic, very very long-standing theory in the game of diplomacy called triangle theory. Like you've got a triangle between England, France, and Germany on one side, and then in the east it's not quite a triangle, but it needs to resolve into a triangle quickly so that you can get that resolution. And the side that can resolve their theater faster than the other theater tends to have an advantage. This is the kind of game, whenever that doesn't happen, that you get the advantage for that player who can scramble, who can negotiate, who can wheel and deal and make deals. And somehow Justin Lohr was that player in this game and managed to come out on top with some very talented players on this board. So congratulations to Justin. Let's bring McCallus onto the stage. McCallus, that was a wild one. What is your thoughts and impression?
I kind of think Isaac hit the nail on the head. Not just kill people because resolving your theatre is good, but games like this are exhausting. They are absolutely exhausting for all of the players, and that's why these games often end in draws much earlier than you would otherwise have expected them to. When nobody can get any sort of partnership going, frustrations tend to mount. You just, every time you think you've made a breakthrough, you get a setback. And those little things just sort of accumulate over the game to the point where everyone is kind of done with the game. And there were if you just look at the board, there were very good cases for probably 4 countries to veto that draw, but none of them did. And that's because of the diplomacy, because of how messy that game was. None of them were really playing for position at that point. They were just, it was a slog, it was a grind, and they were just keen to get out of it. And Justin got to the top at the exact right moment where the motivation to keep playing fell beneath the motivation to, oh, please let me end this misery. And Justin timed it perfectly and got the win as a result. But even then, it's not a particularly great score because none of that game was really worth your time at the end of it. So everybody will be a little frustrated after a game like that. If it's top board and you get a championship, excellent. If it's any other game, those are the sort of games that you're like, oh, well, that's over. I got a result. I didn't get a result. Kill people.
Justin being first place
Really?
solidly did not need a huge score. So
Yeah.
I think that is a net win for him for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
The
Well,
Turks got to get eliminated early.
Isaac, yeah, the person who got eliminated early may be the real winner in that particular game.
They didn't die. They were still in Paris. They had to sit there. They had to sit there and keep suffering.
All right, Isaac, thank you so much for joining us. You are welcome to stick around and join us for the end of the broadcast, but I also know it is extremely late, and I am very grateful for you. So if you need to drop, much respect and understanding from me. So I'll leave that up to you, but we are going to bid you good night right now. And if we see you at the end of the broadcast, great. If not, get some rest. And we're going to transition now over to the final game of the night.
Final game of the night.
And Zachary Moore, we're going to let you take the lead on this one and introduce our players.
In BDL 205, we have Jaden from Washington, D.C. playing Austria, Matthew Tatanchi from Portland in England, Michael Saxton from Seoul in France, Jeff Wang playing Germany. Jeff Wang is Speedio, and Brandon hasn't updated Dipcast to reflect that yet. So shame on Brandon. Jeff Wang is Germany. Jamie Leonard is in Italy. Ryan Panwar is Russia, another Bay Area player. And Marcus Lone in Turkey. Marcus has been grinding away VDL for quite some time yet, getting a lot of games in. I don't know if we see him a ton in round 3, so I'm going to be interested to see how he adjusts to the nightcap.
I'm going to counter your chiding of Brandon for not updating names or the DBNI rankings with a shout out. He put together tonight's broadcast, tonight's games at Dipcast while flying from overseas. So he was hard at work putting this together on airplanes, in airports, layovers. So thank you, Brandon, for helping us have a broadcast tonight.
On the one hand, yes, he did that. But on the other hand, this was a great opportunity, as I said to him earlier, to do the first DBM broadcast from 20,000 feet in the air. And Brandon did not take that opportunity. And frankly, I think that's cowardice.
Yeah,
that's disgusting. And what is he doing on that plane other than fixing Jeff Wang's name?
Exactly.
Come on. All right. Well, for our final broadcast of the night, VDL 205, Spring 1901, Zachary Moore, what do we see?
Well, we see a self-bounce in Burgundy, which is what you want to do as France in Spring 1901. We see a regular bounce in Gal, a regular bounce in Black Sea. We see Munich going to Ruhr. Will not have to worry about covering the home center in the fall because of the self-bounce in Burgundy. Don't know what to make of that. Very passive from France, from Michael right away.
It's interesting to immediately give up on any play on Belgium and just say, England, Germany, work it out between yourselves. And sometimes they can't work it out between themselves. And other times they go, all right, let's EG. So
sounds great.
It's not always a great idea to force England and Germany to negotiate that closely that early in the game and not have any say on it yourself.
So we've got Patrick in chat saying feels like the French opening is getting more common. Zach, what's your opinion on this opening?
I don't like it. Look, it's fine to not touch Belgium. I get that, let them fight over it themselves. But you're effectively holding 2 units here. I guess it covers Burgundy. Better ways to do this. I'd rather do the runaway, go to Spain and gas anything. But an army in Paris after Spring 01 is a disaster for France positionally, I think. And in Fall 01, it'll slide up to pick while France takes Iberia. So not a ton of harm done, except that that's an English army in Belgium, and Munich is clear for a build for Germany. So the winner is going to tell us how much trouble France is in because of those early moves. Meanwhile, it'll be Turkey getting into Romania, which they probably really didn't want, and Italy convoying over to Tunis while Smyrna heads off to Syria to ward off the Lepanto that very much looks like it is coming, all the more so now that army is so badly out of position in Romania. Tough spot for Marcus early on. He'll be playing from his back for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, it's a good point about how this looks fine for Turkey. They've attacked Russia and they've got into Rum, but it's not. It opens up a hole in Bulgaria that you don't own, that Austria's now got 2 next to. It's a pain to go back and take it. You maybe have to cede Rum to do it, and you're just giving up good position to do so. And I think it does draw Austria into a more hostile position against you than they otherwise probably would have been in. So this is the case where that old-fashioned move where you go to con with the other army has the benefit, where you can slip up into ball behind, and then you're on 2, and then it's great. Life is wonderful. But yeah, if you're only getting 1 build as Turkey, having that 1 build out of Rum rather than ball, I think is really, really bad positionally for your chances in this game.
I've been in 1 broadcaster brawl, and it is exactly what happened to me. I ended on 1 center as Turkey. It did not go well for me. I have actually done this on purpose. Whenever I've been Russia on the back foot, supported Turkey into Romania to get them out of position because it's so much weaker. It's going to take some diplomatic tap dancing by Marcus in order to turn that position.
Yeah, this is basically my standard response as Russia if I'm getting sunstrummed, is to try and force this to be the outcome of it and put Turkey into a horrible position so that I can get Austria on side. And it's my standard position as Russia to do that because it works a lot of the time. So yeah, this is, as you say, Marcus has got some tough diplomatic work here to keep this going. It's bold.
Which one's bold?
FleetCon. FleetCon is very bold. FleetCon is Russia. I'm coming for you with everything I've got. I don't care about this Italy that's Lepanto to Tunis. I don't care about Austria. I will have Black Sea. I will have my vengeance. I will bring the wrath of the South gods down upon you. My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, and you have wronged me, Russia. So far, it's working. So, right, Turkey keeps Rum. Bulgaria stays neutral because neither Austria or Turkey move to it. That's fun. And Turkey now gets to move everything on Russia. So, okay, great. The first stage of the tap dance has been successfully done by Marcus. Whether he can maintain it in 4, we shall wait to see. Jamie, it looks like, got the memo that Austria wasn't on board for attacking Turkey, and as a result is like, there might be an AT. I've got to convoy back and protect Venice, which makes a lot of sense. If you're worried that Austria isn't on board for an attack on Turkey, do this. Make sure that they can't easily walk up to Venice. In this case, Austria has gone to Gal instead, but it would have been very easy for Austria to instead just support themselves to Tyrolia while Italy makes a forlorn hope in Aegean or Eastern Med and just loses Venice immediately, and it's essentially game over if that happens. The West, meanwhile, France hasn't suffered at all for that slow start. They've got an FG going. The English army has gone to Belgium to die. Siobhan Nolan is cheering wildly in the background. England saw it coming because they're in Heldel and Bite. So, yeah, Kiel has held, which that's a very conservative move, I'd have to say. You're attacking England. You've put another fleet down. You want to get it somewhere. Try and get into Heldland. Don't let them do this. If you get kicked out of Denmark by some sort of mad ER, you can try and negotiate something in full, or because you can't hold Denmark anyway from this position if Russia's against you. So much better to try and move the fleet forward.
Or Marcus Gene Kelly, because apparently he has done some great tap dancing there. Well done.
All right, fall of 02, the AT sticks together. Turkey does have to give up Romania, which that's perfectly reasonable in an AT anyway. They've got into Sev, which is nice. Russia has realized they couldn't defend Sev and has therefore gone to Silesia, which is very curious. Maybe it's not even hostile to Germany. Maybe it's they can put more on Gao. I'm not sure. Either way, it's probably not great for Ryan. Italy, meanwhile, has read the tea leaves, said, well, there's no growth for me in the east, so screw it, I may as well go west. So over to Piedmont, over to Lyon. I like this. If you can't build somewhere, don't just sit there as Italy and just hope something falls into your lap. Go and craft your own opportunity. Maybe Jamie's going to suffer and AT will come after him, but you know what? If he was still there and sat on 4 centers and AT came after him, wouldn't be any worse. Like, you're not going anywhere anyway. So try and give yourself an out. And if that out isn't by growing in the east, it's got to be by growing in the west. So I like this, Jamie, and I hope it works out for you. Meanwhile, Germany's brief capture of Belgium as part of an EG has lasted all of 1 turn, and turns out that Belgium is where German armies don't quite die, but don't get to hold it either. So France is the one who actually gets Belgium out of this year. Very timely for them to get a build while Italy's coming at them.
Yeah, if you're Italy and you make this move, you were not expecting France to get a build to plop down that fleet in Marseille. And if you're England, this is the best thing you can see, because there is nobody with that Italian move. There's nobody on the board in a position to move on.
Yeah, Matthew has really salvaged this year nicely there. And that's why he got the great results that he did last season, and why he's already got a solo this season.
Love the army from Marcus Lone in Turkey, who all of a sudden has the world in front of him, and the army very well may end up in Brest by the time this is all over. Italy is trying to kind of safely backtrack off of this French attack, which went nowhere. Meanwhile, it is Austria to the line, maybe trying to scrounge out an AIR, but R did not get the, well, I was going to say R did not get the memo, but neither did A, because that moved into Ukraine. So a little premature, I think, moving into Tyrolia here. I get Bohemia, that's position against Russia. I'd rather fill into Vienna from Trieste. And you can still move Budapest back. You didn't want Gal to get popped. I get that. But I just don't think being in Tyrolia is going to help you here. France's position advances. He's going to have a decision to make in the fall about which way he's going to continue. All defense from Germany, all offense from England. And for Turkey, it's just a waiting game.
So Austria's in Bohemia Tyrolia for reasons. When I was in my game I played as France earlier, I was talking to Austria a lot in that game. A lot more than France is probably normally taught to Austria. Sorry, my net died for a sec there. Yes. I was talking to Austria a lot as France in that game. And if they're doing that here, France just taps Piedmont and Austria takes Venice, and the two of them could work together against Italy quite successfully here. France certainly has good reason to do it, and Austria, they're in an AT at the moment, so maybe this is the time to do it. They didn't move to Ionian in spring, so it certainly wasn't a spring full-on stab, but lining themselves up for a potential autumn stab, why not?
We got Campos commenting on Twitch. We simulcast in Twitch. Thanks for watching, Campos. I am assuming that's a joke, but just in case it's not, that's just a joke order in Backstabber. It's very optimistic by the Turks to try to move there. They cannot actually make that move, obviously. That's just a way of signaling in Backstabber as opposed to WebDip, which I believe enforces orders. So players on Backstabber will sometimes put in joke orders or orders to kind of signal to other players what their intent is.
And Turkey's intent in the fall of 1903 is a full-on stab of Austria, which, to Jaden's credit, is sniffed out as he blocks the move into Rum and will take Moscow with Turkish help. It'll also take his own support into Munich. So Jaden going every which direction and kind of warding off the worst of this stab, but it's a lifeline for Jamie's Italy, who badly needed help against France and is now going to get a build, and also had those Austrian units move back away from him while he was at it. Meanwhile, in the West, looks like everybody's friends. Looks like we got another Western triple because France is repositioning against Russia, supporting Germany into Sweden. Germany's Porkin and Baltic getting ready to convoy over against Russia. It is a late-breaking Western triple in response to what? I don't know. It's another thing that's coming up Turkey.
Is this a stab? Like, Turkey puts Austria into Moscow. Turkey, Austria pulls Greece off the board rather than retreats to Aegean Sea, which you might have expected if this was really a stab. This could all be arranged. It could all be arranged except for Austria bouncing Rum, and that was part of the agreement. But even that could potentially have been arranged to stop Russia getting into Rum from Gao. That was why they bounced. So, yeah, I don't see why you would support Austria into Moscow and pull that fleet off the board if you were actually under attack. No,
you're right. They could have been very cleverly here repositioning. They knew Italy needed a build to hold the front line. They knew that fleet of Austria's was worthless, and they found a way to get new dots on the board. You're right. That seems, and Marcus confirms. And good play from Turkey going along with that. When you're Turkey here, you just make everybody comfortable moving away from you, and they will.
Yeah, I mean, a Western triple is all coming up Turkey as well. Like, this is glorious. They've got an AIT going, and they get to sit behind and slowly move forward. So, yeah. 1904, we see Austria gets to walk into Warsaw, which is always nice for Austria. Russia may be janissarying for them. Maybe Russia's more pissed at the West. Maybe Russia is just trying to make something happen in this game and has been offered Berlin that almost certainly won't work. Whatever's going on, I think Ryan's time is sort of running out. But yeah, the Western triple make Western Tripoli moves. France gets into Tunis. Interestingly, Italy doesn't go to Ionian Sea, does just support Turkey to Aegean instead, which maybe they've decided they want Turkey to be the fleet that's in the Ionian Sea because they're worried about Turkey being able to stab for Greece, which does have some merits to it. The problem is that what are you going to disband from losing Tunis? Yep, so it is Turkey going into the Ionian Sea. Italy has lost Iranian Sea for their troubles, which is the other problem with this. Turkey gets up into Moscow, which is all agreed upon. Yeah, this is just lovely for Turkey. Thank you, Ryan, for playing. Sorry it was so painful. EF bouncing in Holland is quite funny. You have to assume it's arranged between the two of them, but that's a risky arrangement where England could just not bounce that and walk into Belgium instead and screw both their partners and go, ha, I'm England in a Western triple. This is what I do.
So, winner 1904, we'll play Who Do You Like? I think probably we can all agree Turkey is in the best position. So if not Turkey, who do you like, McCallus?
Well, it isn't Italy. And it's not Germany. So usually in a Western triple, they favour England. Matt's in a pretty nice position. Michael's also in quite a nice position, but Michael's in a sort of the further growth is limited for him to the point where you sort of expect that this is the time where EF should be getting together to take down Germany. So then the question is, who out of England and France will benefit more from that? And I do think at the moment it's Matt.
Zach, do you agree, or are you picking France or picking someone else?
I agree. You can't like anybody here but the corner powers. France has nowhere to go. Austria is stuck at the line. It could go. You could make a case for tragedy befalling Turkey, but it's hard for me to make a case that tragedy benefits anybody long term other than England.
I will say if France does get the upper hand in some war with Germany, I think France's position is okay.
It looks like we get a wave from France. That's always fun. And we get an army build from Matthew Tatanchi. Zach, you're shaking your head. What's your thought?
Well, I see it. I mean, you want that build to be a fleet, and you have an army in Marseille, and you don't want to offend England, so you wave instead of building fleet Brest. But you got to build the fleet, and you're not the power in a Western triple that should be waving. It should be England. I think England doesn't have the right to be concerned about a fleet Brest here, and you just need to build it now. It needs to go to Mao, it needs to go to West, or it just needs to sit in Mao and protect you. I don't love the wave.
The problem with the wave is that before England's stab on this Western triple was Germany. There wasn't a stab on France because Germany couldn't help. Now England can drop to Channel and convoy to Brest. And that's a really strong stab on the Western triple. But it's not that unusual a stab in a Western triple either. A stab where France is overcommitted in the mid, doesn't have anything at home. In this case, they do actually have stuff at home, but they still managed to end up in a situation where Brest is vulnerable. Maybe they'll do something like pull Belgium back, but they can't really pull Burgundy back without ceding Munich to the other side of the board. So, yeah, this is a funky position now that it didn't need to be. If you just put Fleet Brest and go to Mao, you're fine. There's no English stab on you. Now there is, and there's a risk.
Michael Saxton playing with fire a little bit as we go into spring of 1905.
And he gets burned. You left that open, and not only did his units not get into defensive position, Belgium moves further away, and it's not keeping Holland. English fleets pour westward. Germany repositions to take Burgundy. This is a disaster for France. The only nitpick I might have for England is I understand. I understand Norway. You want to protect St. Pete. It's kind of a defensive hedge, but I would love to be in Norwegian now for further offensive potential against France. It's a little safe. It might be the right call. It might be the wrong call. But if he gets bogged down trying to break through Mid-Atlantic, I think that'll be a move we'll want to keep in mind.
Yeah, and this is all coming up Turkey, of course. Like the Western triple breaking while Turkey's still there. Great, fine. They're not worried. This is probably the term where Turkey takes Greece, though. Italy has now served their purpose.
Yep.
Also Romania, time to go all in.
Yeah, because Austria doesn't need those armies on the line anymore. So if you're Turkey, it's almost now or never for taking your dots. There's not a foreseeable better moment than right now.
Also Warsaw. I mean, let's see.
I mean, the flip side is, do you want to play without allies? I probably wouldn't have stabbed Austria and Italy there, but I would have stabbed one of them. As it turns out, they've done neither.
Marcus is a better person than me.
And it's going to be, England gets the convoy in. Germany is going to recapture both of the Low Countries here. Really nice tactics there from Germany to not build, but not remove one either. Austria is going to keep moving forward. They got the one defensive army in Serbia, but that's not really a defense against Turkey, although Ukraine to Moscow does really limit your offensive potential. It could have been worse for Turkey playing conservative here because all those Austrian units could have and maybe should have went back. But this is a worse offensive position, and I don't think you're going to have a better one than what you just gave up.
Yeah, Tyrrhenian Sea looks nice, but where's it going? Like, what are you actually taking from France? Maybe France is going to melt off the board entirely, but then that means England's getting loads more, and you don't really want England to get loads more because Germany's got Belgium, which is great. That was really well done by Jeff in Germany there. It was an error, I think, by Michael not to cover Belgium, but he was determined to make sure Austria got Munich. Fair enough, I suppose. Either way, yeah, England gets, let's say, Portugal, Spain, Paris, and that puts them on 9. Turkey, what are you getting that gets you to 9 without stabbing either ally? Not a lot. So you've got to stab someone. You've missed the best opportunity to stab Austria. The time is still there to stab Italy, perhaps, and maybe that's what will follow. So they start off, take Ionian Sea. That makes sense for Turkey. Convoy Sev to Bulgaria. Also makes sense to stab Italy. Italy has taken Piedmont and blown it up, which is quite funny. That was an Austrian army there that's no longer there. So Italy can't lose Venice now, at least. But I think Italy has realized Turkey's probably coming for them. That's why they're in Apulia. They're making defensive moves that so far have been pretty successful. See whether that can work in full. Meanwhile, England has convoyed back out of Brest, which was not on my bingo card, but it was a move Matt Tatonci was allowed to make and has chosen to do so. The full, he's rewarded by France still pulling stuff back, because why wouldn't you? Looks like the Western Triple has tried to get back together here, perhaps because the Turkey promised to stab last year if it broken it, and then there wasn't a stab. That is the most likely reason, I think. But I think it's just an error. Like, you've pulled the trigger on France, just finish the job. Instead, you've checked back, lost your own momentum, and Italy is dying. They haven't managed to make all the correct guesses. Turkey, in fact, takes 2 from them this turn, because France hasn't even cut Tyrrhenian Sea to stop them doing that. So, yeah, Turkey's getting the momentum back, and England and Germany, particularly England, I think, have frittered a bit of that away.
So Marcus Lone puts down 2 here. Is it time to go for Austria? Put down 2 armies, army and a fleet. What are we putting down based off your strategy, McCallus?
To some degree, it depends what you think Italy's going to do, who Italy's going to be more annoyed at. If Italy is disbanding favorably to you, maybe you can put the armies down. I think if Italy is likely to keep the 2 fleets, you need another fleet in the mid, because France is still there. And if the Western Triple, if France now takes that offer, you are vulnerable in Naples. So you've got to have a read on Italy. I don't like to play with our allies, and you're Turkey, you're in an 80, you're going to be able to stab Austria later if you really want to. Like, Warsaw is still sat there for the taking if you need to. Rum is always available, so I probably don't stab yet.
Fleet Smyrna Army Con, 2 fleets, wave. What are you putting down?
I like Fleet Wave.
Zach, how about you?
Fleet wave or double fleets. You can't stab them with the builds here. Austria is building another army. It's just not there. So you got to keep pushing and just make sure they know they're the junior partner. Yeah.
Fleet Wave.
Spring of 1907, very defensive. A lot of shows of good faith from both A and T. The retreat into Warsaw makes sense tactically. I'm sure they'll have a conversation about that and clean it up in a way agreeable to both of them. The West is back together again. The whole band is back together. Like most bands that tour a second time later in life, it's kind of sad to see, and we wish they would just play the hits like Road to Burgundy. But they're doing the new stuff, which is, I guess, Fleet Prussia to Livonia. So that's nice. And France and Ionian is actually nice, and long term could be an important piece. But how much juice does this game have left in it? I don't know if it's going to be enough for France to turn that into anything.
Yeah, I mean, the Western Triple is back together, but the question is why? You get it from France. France might get something in the med from this. You maybe get it from Germany, but even then, like Paris was possibly there for the taking, and now they're getting nothing. As you said, Livonia is a fleet. Germany is essentially saying, I won't grow for the rest of this game. Barring a miracle, barring some mad Turkish support into the St. Pete's south coast, it's just not happening. And England's doing nothing. And the problem is that Turkey is not going down. Maybe they could all work together with Italy to kick Turkey out of Naples, but so what? Turkey's going to have like Rome there for the taking. They're going to have Romania and Warsaw still sort of in their pockets. And the Western Triple sticking together means Austria can't pull armies back from Munich without ceding it. So they're not going to turn Austria around to do something about Turkey. So what's the mechanism for containing Turkey?
And I guess, the only mechanism for containing Turkey is Turkey's own alliance play, which is that they're going to work out this swap. Turkey stays in Warsaw, Austria can have Greece, and everybody will stand pat. Turkey doesn't even get a dot off of Italy, because I guess that's the one use of having the French unit in Ionian is it denies Turkey the position they would have needed to force Rome while covering Naples. Meanwhile, France is going to get into Munich for a sixth center and a build. Feels like this is approaching stasis. Feels like we're approaching a drop-in.
Yeah, France. I mean, this just goes back to my point of why Germany would want a Western Triple back together here. Munich's fallen back to the West, and it isn't even Germany taking their own centre back. It's France who's got it. So, well, hey, great news, Germany. You don't have to worry about the Austrians in Munich anymore because France is there instead. Yeah, France got some growth out of this. I suspect either this draws or England drops to mid-Atlantic for a walk into Portugal. I think those are pretty much the only two next moves that make any sense in this game.
There we go. So Zachary Moore being prescient with his prediction of the draw. Why was that the right result, Zach?
I don't know that it was. I think Turkey on 12 here was the right result. I think Rum, Serbia, Greece, Rome, all being Turkish, would have been a reasonable end to this game. But yeah, I mean that's going back, relitigating 1906, and to Marcus's credit, I've spent 3 years ragging on the board topper who was in control the entire time. He played a great game. He controlled the pace of the game. He's just maybe a better person than any of us, and went with a more alliance style of game. Didn't stab Jaden. Didn't play hungry hippo and snatch up everything he can get. And what he ended up with was a solid result that was never ever in doubt. So from where we stand in spring of 1908, I think everybody was right to take this draw.
Michaelis in spring of 1901, this is not the result that I predicted. What was the secret to Marcus's success here?
It was his relationship with Jaden in particular. Like Jamie sort of came along for the ride for a bit, and then they stabbed him at the end anyway. But it was, A and T got together and stuck together, and Jaden put full trust into Marcus throughout that he wouldn't be screwed for it, and Marcus didn't screw him for it. And as a result, Marcus got to control this game. Were there more centers on the table if he'd stabbed Austria earlier? Probably. Does the name necessarily go the same way? Probably not, though, because the Western Triple probably breaks at that point. You might start a race with England. Germany might be pro-England enough to let England take a couple dots. You throw a lot of variables into the equation that you don't necessarily have to when you can just say, all right, I've got the top and I'm just staying on top. I do think it was a really curiously played game by Matt Tatonci and, to a lesser degree, Germany. To pull out of that attack on France and not try and race for the top was, that surprises me a lot, and is probably not what I would have done, but yeah, I guess Matt already has a top board place locked up and maybe just didn't want to screw France over.
Yeah, good point. And this is the point in the season where players on top who have it locked in, maybe trying to make friends or perhaps build reputation going into that championship game. Everyone is watching these games, even if they say they're not. Every player knows what everyone else is doing. And yeah, those players who are already locked in, they need to prepare for that championship game. And everyone else, if they can help them get there, that might pay dividends when you get to that championship game. That's one of the beauties of playing in the league. You add in more complexity than you would in a single game. It creates its own dynamics, and for me, trying to read what are they playing the board? Are they playing the league? That's always a really interesting thing to kind of suss out whenever you're doing your negotiations. I think it adds a lot more layers of complexity to this game, and I think it's delicious. I love it. That's part of the reason I love league play and started this particular broadcast. McCullough, Zach, thank you for covering that game, and we're going to welcome back to the stage Mr. Jukes. Isaac, welcome back. And you
found a way to mute yourself. You've done it, Brian.
I did.
You're
Alliance players, we exist.
officially part of the League Night crew now, coming in on mute, and also officially standing up for yourself and building your reputation on air. So checking 2 checkboxes.
Figured I had to check all the boxes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Isaac, thank you. Congratulations on your debut for League Night. Really appreciate you jumping in and helping us out tonight. I'm really grateful for all the work you've been putting into building out our schedule page, and that's definitely more robust and up to date because of you. So thank you. Let's take a quick look at our standings before I forget and see what happened tonight. So as I pull those up, here is your updated top 10. So Justin Lohr, Matthew Tatanchi, Ben Kelman, Nicholas Camaridis moving up.
Are we sure that's right?
I don't believe that has the new divisor rule. So my 4th game is halved because I haven't played a 5th yet. So there's a minimum divisor for your average of rest now. So I'm about 40 points lower, I think.
All right. I'm also making sure all the games are marked as over. So take all these with a grain of salt. They are not final standings. Yep. Yeah. We got Doug Millett, Jamal, Brandon, Jordan, Christian dropping to 337, Marcus 271. So we will make sure that we get the final scores. Mr. Zachary Moore will double check all the math, make sure it gets up to date, and we'll get the updated scores posted to the website at some point.
I did do a little back of the napkin math earlier today, though, regarding a little bit of BDL history here. So in 2021 season, Nicolas Taillet dominated throughout, won the championship. Really a wire-to-wire. He had the first solo in BDL history that season. His total score, he had the
absolutely
first solo
outrageous.
Yeah, he had the best solo of BDL history that season. So maybe I'm thinking of 2022, but the highest single season score for regular season in BDL history is 584.06. Justin Lohr has been on top all year, just added another board top, and he's got room to grow. It gets harder the more games you play, but it's not impossible. So I think we need to be on Justin Lohr record watch.
It's a really fun place to be. We're in our 4th year for the Virtual Diplomacy League, and it's really, really fun for us to be able to look back at all of this history and start seeing trends and having that kind of conversation. I don't think previously it would have been appropriate to say a historic number, but feels like we're hitting that stage where we do have some good, solid comparisons season by season. And I think that speaks to the talent that we have in the league right now. Really grateful to everybody for playing their games and letting us broadcast it. These are some really fun games tonight. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us in Dip Chat, as always. It's always one of my favorite parts of the broadcast, and it was very active tonight. I'd like to thank Brandon for putting together Dipcast, as always, and to Nicholas and Isaac, thank you both for being up at, I don't even know what time of morning it is, but appreciate
5
it.
a.m.
5 a.m. All right, get some rest before the big race tomorrow. So some chat about the Formula One race, and or in the morning for you guys. And Zach, always a pleasure broadcasting with you. Thanks for jumping in at the last minute to help us fill that empty seat. And it was not just a filler. You were very always had great commentary. So grateful to have you on. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for watching and have a great night. Isaac, your debut. You get to give us the outro.
My brain. No, you can't ask me to do this. You can't ask me to do this because as soon as you did, my brain immediately forgot what it was.
That's quite all right. So it's Siobhan Nolan. Stay safe, sound well. Sign us out.
Okay. Well, stay safe, Sam. Well.
Good night, everybody.